Chapter 777. Yi Tianyun's words let them have a goal, and their loyalty immediately surged. At the same time, a notification sounded in his ears. Ding! Jiao Yuling became a loyal divine general, gained 500. 000 EXP, 500. 000 crazy point. Ding! Yu Tianling became a loyal divine general, gained 1 million EXP, 1000. 000 crazy point. Ding! Hui Tianqing became a loyal divine general, gained 800. 000 EXP, 800. 000 crazy point. Ding! One by one, the girls became Yi Tianyun's divine generals. This really caught him off guard. He wanted to persuade them not to commit suicide. There was no value in dying like this. Instead, this group of garbage evil spirit race would laugh at them for their cowardice. Just now, they were devalued, so he wanted to create value for them. He wanted to vent his anger on the evil spirit race and destroy this race from the three realms. Only then would they be able to display their value and not die just like that. Ding! Successfully subdued 10 divine generals, gained 1 billion EXP, 1 million crazy point, 500. 000 proficiency. At the same time, obtained a divine general summoning token, can be used 3 times to summon different number of divine generals. Ding! Successfully subdued 15 divine generals, gained 5 billion EXP, 5 million crazy point, 2 million proficiency. At the same time, obtained a divine general summoning token and divine general invincibility talisman. After use, all divine generals' power will increase 10-fold, defense will increase 10-fold, can be used 3 times. A bunch of rewards popped up crazily, and Yi Tianyun almost fainted. 12 girls directly became his divine generals. It was incredible. He just said a few words, and they immediately became loyal to him, willing to do anything for him. Yi Tianyun didn't mean it this way. It was too difficult to subdue a divine general. Who would have thought that it would be so easy? We are willing to do anything for Master, even if we have to die, we will do it immediately. I hope Master doesn't despise us for being dirty. Wait! Yi Tianyun interrupted them in a deep voice. After walking back and forth in front of them for a while, he said in a deep voice, "Do you feel that after being defiled, you feel that you are dirty, you feel that you don't even have a chance to approach others? We feel that we have been defiled by these disgusting races. Only Master can give us a reason to live." If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun's words, they would have committed suicide a long time ago. No, your hearts are very pure, without the slightest bit of impurity. It is undeniable that you have been defiled by a group of beasts, but that is only the body. When your cultivation base breaks through to a profound level, you can even be reborn and have a brand new body. Moreover, this is not voluntary. Your hearts are always the purest. The most important thing was that his heart wasn't tainted. Don't feel inferior at all. You will always be the purest and most beautiful. Yi Tianyun's words came from the bottom of his heart. They were all innocent victims. As long as one's heart wasn't tainted, nothing would be a problem. It was this group of trash that deserved to die, not them. Moreover, as he said, after breaking through to the Saint King stage, this was indeed possible. Being reborn and changing one's body was akin to having a brand new body. It was just that if they couldn't get rid of the shadow in their hearts, it would be useless even if they were reborn and changed their bodies. After listening to Yi Tianyun's words, they immediately burst into tears. They all despised themselves and were afraid that Yi Tianyun would not come close to them. They had no intention of looking for any Dao companions. They only had one goal, and that was to kill all the evil spirit race. It was just that they were afraid that Yi Tianyun would despise them. But even if he despised them, they would not have the slightest qualification to refute. Even if they despised them, what qualifications did they have to refute? Now Yi Tianyun's words fiercely hit their hearts, causing them to sob uncontrollably. After seeing this, Yi Tianyun shook his head and sighed deeply. In many cases, women were sacrifices, especially female cultivators. If they were caught, they would basically be defiled and most of them would choose to commit suicide. Because prejudice was always the most terrifying thing. Gossip was a fearful thing. Those who had been defiled were not treated well. They were clearly all victims, and they had not done it willingly, yet they had received such treatment. It was truly chilling. He couldn't care less about the thoughts of others, but on his side, there was no such thing as prejudice. Now, I'll give you a mission. That is to gather all the valuable treasures here and then gather them back here. Yi Tianyun immediately gave them their first mission. With the help of the longevity necklace, they had more or less recovered. Their cultivation had not recovered, but walking was not a problem. Sir, they wiped their tears and immediately ran to other places to search, their eyes filled with hope. They did not ask for anything else now. Other than killing the evil spirit race, their greatest wish was to forever become Yi Tianyun's subordinates and do anything for him. Of course, Yi Tianyun did not need them to do this. He had only done something that was worthy of his conscience. Then, he arrived in front of the Water Dragon Emperor and the evil spirit race experts, looked at them coldly and said, "I originally wanted you guys to take action, but it seems like there's no need for you guys to take action anymore." In the next moment, he waved his hand, and the two of them were also thrown to the side. They were quickly devoured by the inextinguishable flames. Their outcome was similar to the three ancestors, and they were devoured bit by bit. Tianyun was just that ruthless. Once he was harmed or wanted to harm the people around him, he would be incomparably furious and would definitely be ruthless. The Water Dragon Emperor even wanted to capture his friends to threaten him. After finding out about this, the outcome was already decided. You will die a horrible death. You want to get rid of our evil spirit race? Don't even think about it. That's right, even if we die, we won't let you off. Once our evil spirit race attacks, it will be the time of your deaths. When they were engulfed by the flames, they still said vicious words. Is there anything new about your words? It's all this nonsense. Yi Tianyun sneered, I will wait here. I will kill as many as you come. At that time, even if you don't come, I will personally kill my way to your door. I will completely eliminate you trash and enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. He had already made up his mind. He would not be at ease until he completely eradicated the evil spirit race's headquarters. The situation in the three realms had already been exposed. It was only a matter of time before they attacked again. Chapter 778. While he was punishing these trash, Yi Tianyun was waiting on the side. Soon, the girls came back and moved all the valuable treasures here. Some were holy artifacts, some were elixirs, and some were martial arts. Master, these things are all here. There was no greed in their eyes. They didn't care about these things at all. Everything they did was for Yi Tianyun. They didn't think for themselves. Plus, they were absolutely loyal, so they wouldn't embezzle anything. If it was other ordinary cultivators, some greedy ones would have already secretly put them in their storage ring. The palace was so big, they didn't think that Yi Tianyun could keep an eye on everyone, so they put them in their storage ring without being discovered. In fact, if Yi Tianyun really wanted to keep an eye on them, he wouldn't feel any pressure. The appraisal eye could cover the entire palace, so their every move could be seen. But for them, Yi Tianyun didn't see if they had hidden anything. This was more of a kind of trust in them. If he didn't even trust them, then he didn't trust them too much. Of course, becoming his divine general meant absolute loyalty, without the slightest bit of selfishness. Take all the treasures here. They will be your starting resources. Distribute them reasonably. The 12 of you can choose the weapons that suit you according to your needs. Yi Tianyun said solemnly. 12's heart shook as they looked at Yi Tianyun in shock. These were all holy artifacts. The worst was a low-rank holy artifact. They could be said to be very precious. And those elixirs, they were all level 4 and above. They had never seen such high-grade treasures in their lives. When they were caught, their cultivation was at most around the spirit core stage, which was not very high. Now that their cultivation was destroyed, they felt a bit uncertain. But now, not only did Yi Tianyun give them a lot of resources, he also gave them a lot of precious weapons. This meant that it wouldn't be difficult for them to cultivate again. Master, aren't these treasures a bit too precious? Even if they didn't have the slightest bit of greed in their hearts, they would still be shocked if it was really given to them. One had to know that in the outside world, people would fight to the death for it. It's not precious. You deserve it. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "Later on, I will teach you martial arts that suit you. I hope that you will cultivate well and not waste my efforts. If I find anyone slacking off or giving up, I won't do anything but make the lazy go home obediently and don't stay in my team." "Master, we will never be lazy," they shouted in unison. Their voices were sonorous and firm. After this incident, no matter how arrogant and lazy they were in the past, they would change. "Very good, then I'll start teaching martial arts later." Soon, they began to choose weapons that suited them. Some liked to use swords, while others liked to use knives. Everyone had different preferences. However, most people preferred to use swords. Swords were relatively more balanced and not as heavy. Soon after, Yi Tianyun taught them martial arts one by one. He didn't have much, but he had a lot of martial arts. He picked out martial arts that suited them and let them cultivate again. With the help of precious pills, not only would they be able to return to their peak, they would also be able to break through further. Watching them cultivate hard, Yi Tianyun believed that it wouldn't take long for the 12 of them to become a super team that could hunt the evil spirit race. The group of people on the side kept screaming, but their expressions didn't change as they continued to cultivate. Just like that, they continued to cultivate here as if nothing had happened. If someone were to come in and see this scene, they would definitely be shocked. On one side, someone was being burned, and on the other side, they were cultivating. It was simply too strange. After temporarily getting rid of the remnants here, Yi Tianyun knew that there were still many remnants that had not been eradicated, but he believed that there wouldn't be too many. As long as the old ancestor level died, the remaining evil spirit race cultivators with relatively low cultivation would not be too difficult to eliminate. They stayed here for half a month, and all of them fiercely raised their cultivation. With the help of so many pills, all of them rushed towards the spirit core stage. They already had a foundation, so it wouldn't be too difficult for them to cultivate back again. Thus, in less than half a month, the cultivation of the 12 of them had quickly recovered by more than half. It was truly terrifying. They cultivated like crazy. Hatred could destroy a person, and it could also push a person's potential to the limit. At the same time, those ancestors were burned for an entire half a month. They were not burned to death, but more than half of their bodies were burned. They didn't even have the strength to shout now. Their lives were hanging by a thread, and they couldn't die even if they wanted to. Yi Tianyun wouldn't let them die so easily, he would let them receive this punishment. It's about time. You guys already have the ability to protect yourselves. While you are cultivating, I will refine a batch of necklaces for you. As long as you get close to the evil spirit race, you will immediately release a red light, proving that the other party is the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. At that time, I don't need to say anything, you guys know what to do, right? Previously, he felt that he needed to level up his appraisal eyes in order to find the evil spirit race. After some research, he discovered that after refining a treasure with the blood of the evil spirit race, it would release a red light when it got close to the evil spirit race, indicating that the other party was the evil spirit race. This kind of thing was very useful. It could be given to the experts of the Empire and would be of great help in exterminating the evil spirit race in the mortal realm. This way, even if they were to hide, they would still be discovered. Thank you, Master. They all excitedly took the necklace, even more excited than when they had obtained the sacred artifact. Right now, what they wanted the most was to exterminate the evil spirit race, but they would immediately face a problem, and that was that they would not be able to tell. If they were to hide themselves, such as the heavenly netherworld divine nations, it would not be easy to tell. Only after revealing their strength would they truly know that they were from the evil spirit race. Very good, then I will now hand over your last mission here. Yi Tianyun pointed at the evil spirit race's ancestors who were lying on the ground in pain, and said, Do you want to kill them? It's just that Master's method is even more. They nodded heavily. Even though the evil spirit race had been burned for a long time, they were still unable to quell the anger in their hearts. It's about time. I'll leave their lives to you to settle and fulfill your final wish. Lee Tianyun said in a deep voice. Sir. They did not continue to refuse. They wanted to cut them up piece by piece. Soon after, they pounced forward and began to quickly cut down, pulling out their tendons and peeling off their skin. It was absolutely cruel. Compared to the suffering they had suffered, what was this? 12 people, huh? Then I'll name them the 12 golden hairpins. The 12 golden hairpins originally symbolized beauty, but what was described here was that under the beauty, there was a heart filled with vengeance. It was like a thorny rose. If one was not careful, they would hurt the person who picked it. Chapter 779. Under the harvest of the 12 of them, 5 people were completely killed, but the skinning process lasted for more than a day. If other cultivators were here, they would definitely be scared to death. What kind of cruel method was this that made a dozen girls willing to do such a thing? They weren't old at all. The oldest was only 15 or 16 years old, and the youngest was 8 or 9 years old. Each of them was like a madman, and they weren't afraid of the blood or the horrible scene. But after they killed the 5 people, they turned their heads and vomited to the side. Then they hugged each other and cried bitterly. They felt that some things had been put down, and some things were a lot easier. Lee Tianyun also got perfect EXP, and it was all superimposed on the system. Ding! Congratulations to player Tianyun for successfully breaking through to 6th layer Saint King stage. Lee Tianyun successfully broke through again. This time, he used 100 times EXP card to help him break through again. But now, he didn't feel any surprise in his heart, and he felt a bit heavy when he looked at them. The 12 golden hairpins quickly recovered and stood in front of him, bowed deeply, and said, "Thank you, Master." They didn't say anything special, just a simple word of gratitude, and it was enough to express their inner excitement. From today on, I will give you a code name, and that is the 12 golden hairpins. It represents beauty and danger, and your ultimate goal is to eliminate the evil spirit race from the mortal world, understand? Lee Tianyun said solemnly. Understood. There was a bit of surprise in their eyes. They liked this code name very much. Very good, now you can go back to your homes, or go directly to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Lee Tianyun said indifferently, I almost forgot to introduce myself to you. I am the great emperor of the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Their beautiful eyes were suddenly filled with shock. They didn't know what Lee Tianyun's true identity was, but no matter what, it didn't matter to them. He was the master they had to follow. Who knew that he was the famous Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor? It really shocked them. They didn't expect that the famous Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor was this young man in front of them. It was really shocking. At first, they had thought that it was some old man. At the very least, he wouldn't be too young. Who would have thought that it was a young man who had saved them? There were even rumors in the outside world that the Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor was a debauchee, but now, there was no such thing as a rumor. I plan to go back home, and then go to Heavenly Clouds Empire. I'm also planning to go back to my home and talk to my family before going to Heavenly Clouds Empire. I don't have any family left. They were all killed by these bastards. I plan to go to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. More than half of them had lost their families and wanted to return to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. The evil spirit race was simply too ruthless, directly annihilating an entire village and capturing it as food. All right, I'll bring you out of here. With a wave of his hand, Lee Tianyun brought them out of the palace. At this time, there was no heavenly fire around the palace. It was completely absorbed by him. Therefore, it was no longer cold here. When he left, he slammed his hand down, and a wave of power exploded above the palace, completely destroying it. The hiding place of the evil spirit race in the mortal world was completely destroyed. In addition to this, the evil spirit race's cultivation base was weak. There were basically no powerful evil spirit race in the mortal world. Most of them were killed by him, so it was impossible for there to be other powerful evil spirit race. The remaining evil spirit race was always a small part, and most of them should stay in the heaven world or the ghost world. The mortal world's conditions were too restrictive, unlike the ghost world and the heaven world. As long as the bloodline of the evil spirit race was thin, no one would notice it. Soon, they returned to the place where the heaven ascending divine altar was. He found that the heaven-ascending divine altar was gone. Obviously, Lan Qingling had taken the heaven-ascending divine altar away. It had been half a month since the last time, and if they were still here, the efficiency would be too low. When they swam to the surface, Yi Tianyun separated those who wanted to go back. Many of them lived in the sea. However, only a small portion of them left, and most of them chose to leave with him. Yi Tianyun was not worried that they would never return. They had all become his divine generals, and their loyalty had reached the highest level. It meant that no matter what he did, it would not drop. When he continued to swim forward with them, after swimming for a few hours, they finally saw the huge figure of the heaven-ascending divine altar. Looking from afar, one could see 3 gigantic sea whales trying their best to drag the ascension divine altar forward. Their speed was neither fast nor slow, and was basically no different from a normal person's running speed. If there were not 3 whales, this thing would not be able to move at all. It was like a city standing here. How could it be easily dragged? After dragging for half a month, they were not even halfway there. It seemed that they would need a month to successfully reach their destination. When they swam over, the guards at the side immediately saw them and looked over vigilantly. When they saw that it was Yi Tianyun, they all greeted respectfully, "Young master." Yi Tianyun nodded and swam forward with the others. Soon, he saw Lan Qingling supervising the work of the 3 sea whales in the front, trying to make them swim forward. It was really hard work, and the consumption was absolutely shocking. "Young master, you're back." When Lan Qingling saw Yi Tianyun return, she immediately swam over. It seems that the progress is not bad." Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "I will accompany you for the rest of the time, and wait for the heaven-ascending divine altar to be dragged back to its original position." He originally thought that it would take a lot of time, but it seemed that there was still plenty of time. When the time came, he still had to set up the formation and stabilize the heaven-ascending divine altar. Then, they entered the heaven-ascending divine altar and waited for the transportation. Along the way, Yi Tianyun constantly refined medicinal pills to replenish the energy of the whales. Dragging this thing was too heavy, and the consumption of spiritual energy was shocking. If they wanted to speed up, they would not be able to do it without medicinal pills. With his help, the speed of their progress increased greatly, and in less than a week, they were already faster than before. "Young master, there are many cultivators outside, and they seem to be from the Empire's forces. They have started to attack us, and they want to stop us." Lan Qingling hurriedly came in from outside and reported. Chapter 780. Yi Tianyun knew that there would definitely be people intercepting him. Facing so many mermaids and a palace, how could he not be interested? After he came out of the heaven-ascending divine altar, he immediately saw a large group of cultivators blocking in front of him, and many of them were already fighting with the mermaids. The 3 sea whales were intercepted in front of them, constantly resisting attacks as a meat shield. Water Dragon Empire's people? When Yi Tianyun saw the cultivators intercepting outside, he immediately smiled. He was wondering which empire was so arrogant, but it turned out to be the Water Dragon Empire. The Water Dragon Empire happened to be built in the area on the edge of Demon Cloud Island, so they would definitely come here to intercept the situation. As for the cultivators in Demon Cloud City, they were completely on the side. "Hurry up, catch these mermaids, they can be sold for a good price." "Hey, there is a big palace there. I don't know what treasures are inside, but it looks like it's definitely not bad. Hurry up and catch this sea whale, we must not let it go. When the great emperor comes back, he will definitely reward us." All of them seemed to have gone mad as they rushed over, ready to capture all the mermaids. When they just wanted to attack further, a terrifying force suppressed them, and the cultivators who just wanted to hurt them were immediately shocked into a blood mist. The Water Dragon Empire's general behind was stunned. How did the soldiers they sent out die in the blink of an eye? "Who gave you the courage to stop my sea whale?" Yi Tianyun flew over and glanced at them indifferently. Behind him were the 12 golden hairpins, but now there were only 8 left, and 4 of them had already gone back. They all followed closely behind, and wherever Yi Tianyun went, they would follow. "How dare you? How dare you kill one of our people?" Do you know which force we belong to? A general swam over and looked at him with killing intent in his eyes. None of them had seen Tianyun before, so they didn't recognize the heavenly cloud's great emperor in front of them. At that time, he invited people to congratulate him, but only a few of them. It was impossible for all the great emperors to come with their families to congratulate him. Buzz. At this time, the necklaces on their chests suddenly lit up, which meant that someone in front of them was from the evil spirit race. Their eyes were filled with astonishment at first, but in the blink of an eye, they were filled with killing intent. Tianyun raised his head and saw a few members of the evil spirit race not far away. Their gazes were fixed on Lan Qingling's direction. Some of them were even preparing to leave this place quietly. Undoubtedly, they were planning to report the news. Go! Tianyun gestured with his hand, and the 8 great golden hairpins swam over without hesitation. They gripped their sage-level weapons tightly in their hands and charged forward. Before the other party could react, a sword beam had already pierced through their bodies. With a scream, they immediately died. After they died, 2 arms suddenly grew out from their backs, completely revealing their true forms. This meant that the ones they had killed were not fake. They were truly evil spirit races. After killing them, the necklace in his bosom immediately stopped shining. The 8 golden hairpins immediately returned to Tianyun's side and waited quietly. I didn't expect you to still dare to attack. If you don't give us an explanation today, no matter what faction you are from, you will all die here. The Water Dragon General was furious. He thought that he would scare them, but he didn't expect that he would immediately attack them. I am from the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Do you want to fight? Tianyun said indifferently. You are from the Heavenly Clouds Empire? The Water Dragon General and the others were startled. After looking at each other, they immediately laughed. Just a few people, and you dare say that you are from the Heavenly Clouds Empire? I am the Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor. Kill them. If the Water Dragon Great Emperor comes back, we won't be able to explain ourselves. Honored guest? Tianyun's eyes narrowed. It seems that the evil spirit race's people that he just killed were sent here to negotiate with the Water Dragon Empire. Originally, I just wanted to kill some of the people in the Water Dragon Empire, but it seems that the entire Water Dragon Empire has become the base camp of the evil spirit race. Tianyun took a step forward, and with a dong sound, a terrifying wave of water surged forward, and the guards who rushed forward were immediately killed. Even the Water Dragon General didn't know what happened, and he was killed by the wave of water. Such terrifying power, they immediately thought of one person, and that was the Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor. The young man in front of them was really the Heavenly Clouds Great Emperor. But it was too late, and they were quickly killed by the water waves. Keep going. Tianyun pointed his finger and signaled the mermaid clan to continue on their way. Most of them hadn't seen Tianyun fight before, so when he did it, they were all shocked. Is this the power of the young master? With just one step in the water, he killed the enemy by relying on the fluctuations of the water waves? With him here, no one can stop the advancement of the heaven-ascending divine altar. The situation here was quickly seen by the cultivators outside. They originally wanted to drink some soup, but when they found a super expert below, they were scared and immediately ran back. As they got closer and closer to the Demon Cloud Island, many people came out of the Demon Cloud Island and looked over. Many people looked at the mermaid clan with greed in their eyes. They all wanted to catch a mermaid so that they could live without worrying about food and clothing. It's a mermaid, I want to go down and catch a mermaid. There's also a sea whale. If you can cut a large piece of sea whale meat, it's also worth a lot of money. Did you see that temple? Isn't that the temple that was dragged away by the sea demons before? Why did they send it back now? It's a bit strange. All of them were shocked, and they didn't know why a large number of mermaid clan would drag the temple here. But no matter what the reason was, they only had eyes for the mermaids. As long as they could catch a mermaid, the price would be at least 1,000,000 spirit stones, which was a lot of money for them. Although it was dangerous in front of them, greed had clouded their minds. Don't make a mistake. If anyone dares to harm the mermaid clan, I'll make sure they die in this sea. Tianyun flew in the air and looked at them coldly. He could ignore the hunting of sea beasts, but the mermaid clan could be said to be a great hero, and now they were his subordinates, so he absolutely couldn't touch them. Why can't we touch them just because you said so? Who do you think you are? Someone immediately retorted. For them, this was a lot of money. Because I am the heavenly cloud's great emperor, is this enough? As soon as his voice fell, a terrifying aura gushed out of his body and shrouded the entire demon cloud island, forcing all the cultivators to kneel on the ground. The terrifying aura made them not even have the courage to stand up, and their legs went soft. Chapter 781. Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor. He is actually the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor? My God, I missed the opportunity to talk to the Great Emperor. Qian Lang exclaimed on the side. When he saw Yi Tianyun flying up, he felt that he was very familiar. When they took a closer look, they found that it was the person they saved before, but it was the person who saved them later. Now that he said that he was the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor, it really surprised them. They didn't expect that the person who saved them before was the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor, the idol of most people. Yes, it's really the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor. Lin Xiang was also shocked. Looking at Yi Tianyun flying in the air in the distance, he didn't know what to say. Some people said that the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor was extremely violent, killing people without blinking an eye, or doing many evil things. After they met, they found that it was not the case at all. The rise of Yi Tianyun and his domineering attitude made many people have a good impression on him, and they even regarded him as an idol of worship. In this world that worshipped force, it was really admirable to suppress so many empires with such strong power. Some people liked him, but there were certainly people who hated him. Some people hated such arrogant people, thinking that if he was suppressed by a stronger person, then the Heavenly Cloud's empire would definitely collapse. Who knew that after such a long time, not only could no one suppress Yi Tianyun, but they were also suppressed by him. As long as someone provoked Yi Tianyun, they would be suppressed. Now, with his tyrannical momentum, he began to establish a huge alliance, which made people wonder if Yi Tianyun wanted to rule the entire mortal world. This was something that no one could do for a long time. Now that the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor appeared in front of them and released his domineering power, they had to believe that the young man in front of them was the legendary Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor. After he withdrew his aura, he looked at them indifferently to see what reaction they would have. I don't accept this. At this time, a cultivator suddenly stood up. After the aura was withdrawn, they could finally move. After standing up, they pointed at Yi Tianyun and said angrily, "Even if you are the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor, so what? You said we can't touch the mermaid clan? You are clearly a human. Why would you help the mermaid race?" A person stood up and scolded Yi Tianyun, which surprised many people. Someone really had the guts to stand up and question the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor. That's right, I'm not convinced either. I know I might die if I say it out loud, but why should the mermaid clan be monopolized by you? Rumor has it that the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor is a licentious man. I didn't believe it before, but now I do. Could it be that the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor wants to take over the entire mermaid clan? Let's not talk about the mermaid clan for now. Just the temple alone is enough. He heard that this temple has always been under the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor's control. Is it reasonable for the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor to take it for himself? We've worked so hard to stay here for so long, but we haven't earned anything. Instead, you've taken everything as soon as you arrived. Is this fair? Even if I am killed today, I will say it. He told everyone to spread the news about the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor. He wanted to take everything for himself. We just wanted to cultivate here, but who would have thought that this place would be taken over by someone else? As soon as one person came out, another person came out. One by one, they stood up and pointed at Yi Tianyun and scolded him. The point was that what they said was quite reasonable. They were not from the same race, so why would he protect another race? Could it be that the rumors were true, that Yi Tianyun was a lecher? Their words immediately aroused the anger of the crowd. Their hearts were full of unwillingness. They all admitted that the difference in strength was too big, but even so, could he suppress them with his aura? Did he really force them into a corner? When everyone looked at Lee Tianyun, wanting to see how he would answer, Lee Tianyun gently raised his hand, and several rays of light pierced through the people who had spoken before. Then there was a big hole in their chest, and they fell directly to the ground, unable to get up. The crowd gasped. As expected of a great emperor, he killed people without hesitation. Many of them wanted to resist. But now, it was as if a basin of cold water was poured on them, and they were all chilled from head to toe. How could they still have the courage to stand up? If they followed Lee Tianyun, they would die. Kill us all if you have the guts. We are weak, but we all have dignity. Everyone, come with me, we have so many people, I don't believe that we can't snatch a treasure. Snatch the fishman, snatch the treasure. Yes, there are so many of us, kill us all. You cold-blooded demon, I heard that you are highly respected, but I think it's bullshit. You are a tyrant, and anyone who disobeys will die. We didn't even provoke him, and now we don't even have a place to live. One by one, they rose up, wanting to maintain their last dignity and fight with Lee Tianyun. People can die, but they can't lose their dignity. The Empress and the others remained silent. This could easily cause public anger. Killing them all could solve the problem, but if this matter spread to the other continents, then Lee Tianyun's prestige would collapse. This was undoubtedly making an enemy of the entire mortal realm. No one liked a tyrant, and no one would join a tyrant's faction. In this way, even if a person was very strong, he would still be overthrown in the end. However, they didn't have the right to speak and could only watch from the sidelines, watching how Lee Tianyun would resolve the chaos here. If he couldn't handle it well, they felt that Lee Tianyun would probably have a very big problem in terms of management. Lee Tianyun stretched out a hand and lightly flicked, and a few more beams of light shot out, killing the people who had been shouting just now. This situation shocked many people. It looked like this time, Lee Tianyun was really planning to use force to suppress people. Lee Tianyun's figure flashed, and he arrived outside the demon cloud city with the 8 great golden hairpins. The group of people was so frightened that they retreated continuously, worried that they would be killed by him. Most people didn't want to die, but the anger in their hearts was already almost uncontrollable. Killing people at the slightest disagreement, they didn't believe that so many people would be killed. Yes, if you have the ability, kill me, you demon. We only asked a few questions and you want to kill us. I'm not afraid of death, come and kill me. A youth walked out and said angrily, to think that I worshipped you, thinking that you were the benevolent great emperor, but now it seems that you are not. As one youth walked out, more people walked out, all of them filled with anger. If they didn't come out, then they wouldn't even have the right to speak. You were bewitched by a group of foreign demons and didn't even know it. Lee Tianyun shook his head and waved his hand to raise the corpses. With a light flick of his hand, these corpses immediately revealed their true bodies. 2 arms grew from their backs, and their bodies had become incomparably black. Clearly, they weren't humans. Chapter 782. What kind of race is this? Why are they disguised as us? When they saw this scene, they were shocked. It looked like a completely different species. How was it a human? It was not even a sea demon. It looked very strange. No matter what, they disguised as a human and mixed in with their group, it was definitely not a good idea. At least the sea demons wouldn't mix in with them, let alone associate with them. When the Empress saw this, she was shocked. They didn't expect that the one causing trouble here turned out to be the evil spirit race. They constantly stirred up emotions to make others resist, so that they could ruin Lee Tianyun's reputation. A strong cultivation could suppress everything, but it was impossible to suppress all the cultivators in the mortal world. There would always be a time when they would be overthrown. At that time, assassinations would be everywhere, even if they were safe. What about their loved ones? This was the result of angering the whole world, and they would definitely be killed. Unless they killed everyone in the world, it would be impossible to stop. Their faces were gloomy. The evil spirit race was indeed the evil spirit race. They were so ruthless. If Lee Tianyun was an extremely impulsive person, he would really kill everyone, and it would not be a good thing to cause public anger. Lee Tianyun wasn't that stupid. After glancing coldly at the crowd, he said in a deep voice, "Go." The 8 golden hairpins couldn't bear it anymore. They immediately disappeared in place with their weapons in hand. Their cultivation was not high, but they all cultivated heaven-grade martial arts, plus their own talent was not low, and coupled with their sage tools, they were unstoppable. In the blink of an eye, they rushed into the crowd, and soon many people were killed. One after another, screams came from afar. But after they killed them, everyone found that the person lying on the ground was not an ordinary cultivator at all, it was the evil spirit race. No one was killed wrongly, it was definitely the evil spirit race, not the human race. Run! At this time, some people quickly fled to the side, but they fled in different directions. If they all fled in the same direction, they would definitely be caught. Want to leave? Lee Tianyun stretched out his hand and grabbed the void, and the fleeing cultivators were caught back. No matter how they struggled in the air, it was useless. Let me go, you hypocritical heavenly cloud's great emperor, what do you want to do to your own race? Kill innocent people, you tyrant. They were still resisting, they wanted to judge Lee Tianyun as a tyrant, so that other cultivators could help them. However, it was useless. No one else dared to move. The people that the 8 golden hairpins had killed all revealed their true forms. They were all from the evil spirit race, not the human race. This meant that they didn't kill the wrong people, they were really demons. Same race, you think you are worthy to be my race? Lee Tianyun sneered and clenched the void. Bang! Their power was forced out, and 2 black arms emerged from their backs. The evil spirits were born with having evil spirits. They had the power of devouring, they could devour other races and turn them into their own power. This kind of evil power could be sensed if one carefully sensed it. This is not human at all, what kind of race are they? They look so strange. I thought that the heavenly cloud's great emperor killed the same race, but who knew that they are not the same race? What is going on? Why did they sneak in? What is their intention? These guys want to incite us to fight against the heavenly cloud's great emperor. We were almost fooled. Their hearts were cold, and they almost wanted to kill the evil spirit race. But fortunately, they didn't act so impulsively. Lee Tianyun killed the evil spirit race and made them expose themselves to prove that he didn't kill the wrong people. They are demons from the outside, called evil spirit race. Their ability is very simple, that is to devour all races except their own race. Of course, it is hard to say whether they will devour their own race or not. At least, they can devour any race in the 3 realms and turn them into their own energy. Lee Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he immediately cast the Eye of Enchantment. 2 of them seemed to be bewitched, and their bodies stiffened, standing in the same place. Tell me your plan, as well as what you've done here. Tell me everything. Lee Tianyun said in a deep voice. Also, who did you kill and who did you devour? Tell me one by one. We plan to sneak in and capture some talented cultivators, and let our race devour them so that we can improve our cultivation. At the same time, we also want to devour the cultivators here to satisfy our appetite and improve our cultivation. I devoured Lu Meng and an 8-year-old child before, the taste was very delicious. I devoured Sen Yu, who had a higher cultivation than me, but that kid didn't have any vigilance against me, so he deserved to be eaten. The 2 of them told their own situation. As for the others, they didn't say anything, but what they said was already shocking enough. What happened? You devoured Brother Sin? One of them shouted angrily. No wonder Brother Sin disappeared, it turned out that he was devoured by a demon like you. He even eats children. What a beast! I didn't expect there to be such a race, they even eat children. My child is gone. All of them were shocked and angry, they didn't expect such a demon to exist, it was completely a demon beast. Demon beasts also eat anything, but the problem was that these guys looked very normal, and they could even speak human language. The most terrifying thing was that they could sneak in and pretend to be human, which was the most terrifying thing. I don't know if you have heard of it, but a long time ago, there was a rumor that a group of demons from outer space invaded, and who resisted it. That was resisted by the heaven-creating divine king, in the mortal world. In addition to the heaven-creating divine king, There was also the mermaid race to help. If it weren't for the heaven-creating divine king and the mermaid race, do you think you would still exist in this world and have a stable life? Now, not only do you not repay the kindness, but you also want to capture the mermaid race? I know your hard work and I also know your efforts, but there are some things that need to be clarified. Who are the enemies? Who are the friends? Whether you are selfish or not, whoever dares to touch a finger of the mermaid race, I will destroy his entire race. What tyrant, what wise monarch, I don't care at all. I only know that you can live here safely now. They have a lot of credit. Even now, you still want to capture them. Where is your conscience? Some people can never be awakened. Tianyun doesn't expect to wake them up completely, but at least some people can know the truth of history. After all, no matter what race, there will be some scum, inferior to beasts. Even if the world is swallowed up, they will not have the slightest thought of coming out to help. He had experienced this kind of people in the heaven realm. Even the 8 great divine nations were a bunch of trash. He did this because he believed that there are still many people willing to unite, willing to give everything, their blood, their efforts, and even their lives. He obtained the memory of the King of the Heavens. At that time, in addition to the mermaid race, many cultivators sacrificed themselves and gave everything. Now, they were about to usher in the terrible dark days. He could feel that it would not be too short. Chapter 783. Everyone in the demon cloud city did not speak. They all stood in silence, and no one knew what they were thinking. I don't know what you are thinking, but you all saw the situation just now. This evil spirit race is quietly hiding beside us, crazily devouring our own race. To be honest, there are many of these evil spirit race in the mortal realm. I don't know how many there are. There may be a companion who looks good, but in fact, he secretly wants to devour you. When Tianyun said this, they all felt a chill in their hearts, feeling extremely terrified. Although there have been fights between cultivators, if there is no problem, they will not kill each other. Most of them live in harmony and do not often fight and kill. They often go to kill demon beasts together. After all, in the mortal realm, the number of demon beasts is also astonishing. Or they come to the sea to kill some sea beasts. There are countless sea beasts here, and they can't be killed. Not only that, these evil spirit race may also come from the outside world, or from the heavenly realm and the netherworld. These are all possible. Tianyun's words are not alarmist, but true. There are at least tens of thousands of cultivators in the demon cloud city. If he wanted to, he could easily kill them all, as if he was stepping on a group of ants. But now, he is trying his best to explain it. The reason is very simple. He wants so many people to spread the news. Cultivators from all over the Demon Cloud City have gathered in the Demon Cloud City. They may be from the Water Dragon Empire, the Heaven Primordial Empire, or other empires. Basically, they were all cultivators from different empires. After they left this area, they would spread the news of what had happened here, playing an absolute role in spreading the news. They have all seen the evil spirit race, so they can say how terrifying it is. If he said that demons would come in during the alliance, who would believe it? It is better to say that demon beasts are attacking. Most people will not believe things that they have not seen before. There are so many people here, so it is more credible to say it out. I ask you now, are you willing to resist these demons? Are you willing to use your own life to resist these foreign demons? Tianyun said solemnly, whether you are willing or not, I am willing to use my life to kill all the invading fiendish demons. The reason is very simple. It is not to protect you, but to protect my family, to protect my friends. Are you willing to do this? Tianyun looked at them with a burning gaze. He was speaking the truth. Who said he was doing it for the sake of the world? This was simply a joke, a fart. Most of it was nonsense. Under his burning gaze, someone quickly stood up and shouted, I'm willing. My friend has been missing for a long time. He might have been eaten by these demons. I just want to protect my family and myself. I'm willing to kill these demons. Me too. Kill all these bastards. Kill all these trash. All of them were willing to step forward. Their deafening roars resounded throughout the entire sea region. Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, Can we join the Heavenly Clouds Empire? I want to serve the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Someone suddenly asked this question, and many people had the same thought in their hearts. Yi Tianyun's behavior made them admire him even more. How could they not want to join? Yes, there is no problem at all. Yi Tianyun smiled lightly and said, I am very happy to let you join the Heavenly Clouds Empire. The Heavenly Clouds Empire will always welcome you to join us and kill the demons together. Suddenly, everyone cheered. Some were silent, some were disdainful, but most chose to support Yi Tianyun. There were all kinds of people in the world, and Yi Tianyun couldn't care less. He just needed to manage his own forces. What he could do now was to unite most of the forces in the mortal world. As for those who didn't unite, they could choose to go alone. That's fine, I won't send you off. When the demons came, they would have to bear the responsibility for everything. He asked his men to ally with other empires, but that was only limited to empires. As for the other small forces, if they didn't choose to join, they could do whatever they wanted. The main reason why he chose the empires was that they were powerful enough. There were too many small forces, and it would be a waste of time if he went to talk to them one by one. Therefore, he told his men to go to the Empire Alliance instead of the small forces. The progress wouldn't be too slow, but it definitely wouldn't be fast. But now that the news had spread, he believed that there would be more alliances. Ding, completed achievement, Worshipper. Rewarded 1,000 commander points, 1 billion EXP, 100,000 crazy points. The sudden achievement stunned him. He didn't expect there to be such benefits. He just said a few words, and many people chose to trust him and choose to join him, and he got so many benefits. This was simply too easy to earn. It was just that he needed too many people to worship him in order to have such an effect. It was meaningless to just listen to his name, they needed to worship him in person to have an effect. Commander points were a good thing. He could easily convince so many people not only because he had a good reason, but also because he had a lot of commander points. I told you that young master would do a good job. Lan Qingling clapped her hands. She was very excited and felt quite happy. The Empress nodded. She was worried that Yi Tianyun was too young to be able to suppress the anger in his heart. Who knew that everything was done so perfectly, not only did he suppress many cultivators, but he also made them follow him. Although they didn't like humans, this was their own business. They still didn't want to see Yi Tianyun's relationship with the human race. The human race was the largest in the mortal world. If it caused public anger, one could imagine the seriousness of the problem. Therefore, most of them just defended themselves. They didn't dare to go into the city and kill at will. Once they provoked someone strong, they would definitely be finished. After this incident, many people have remembered a very old legend. It was a foreign demon attack, and the heaven-creating divine king brought many strong cultivators to protect them. This thing was thought to be a legend, no one has experienced it, who knows whether it is true or not. After most of the people settled down, he continued to move the heaven-ascending divine altar forward, and soon moved back to its original position. Then he quickly carved divine runes on the side and fixed the heaven-ascending divine altar in place. Buzz! A light rose into the sky, representing that the heaven-ascending divine altar returned to its original position, restoring the effect of teleportation. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to repair it, but he is different now, with the inheritance of the heaven-creating divine king, he can definitely repair it. Finally, one of my worries has been solved. Now I just need to kill all the evil spirit race in the mortal world. Chapter 784. After stabilizing the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar, the golden light made many people's eyes light up, but since it belonged to Yi Tianyun, most of them didn't think too much about it. The ones who had the idea before were just the evil spirit race's provocation. Most of them didn't dare to think too much from the beginning. They worked so hard to snatch it back, why should they share it with them? But the charm of provocation lies in this, so many people are willing to take action, so the original rational people will be tempted. At this time, when Yi Tianyun came back to the Demon Cloud City and announced to everyone that they could enter the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar to cultivate, it immediately attracted a burst of cheers. They didn't think that Lee Tianyun would let them in, but who knew that he really let them in, raising their prestige again. There was nothing wrong with letting them in, it was just an empty room, and there were no treasures inside. He intended to let the mortal world's Heaven Ascension Divine Altar be completely open to all cultivators, just like the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar in the Heaven Realm. Anyway, as long as they don't destroy the Heaven Ascension Divine Altar, there will be no problem. He also announced some rules, such as when they can enter the trial and when they can't. At the same time, he also added a new rule, that is, the powerhouses who successfully reach the top can choose to join the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor and get focused training. In a sense, it is equivalent to selecting excellent geniuses, and it will allow some rogue cultivators to choose to join them, strengthening the strength of the Heavenly Cloud's empire. Ding! Wanma Empire successfully formed an alliance, gaining 1 billion EXP, 10,000 crazy point, 10,000 proficiency. This is the second empire that successfully formed an alliance, and some empires are still in detailed negotiations. But he believes that after the Demon Cloud City incident, this progress will be accelerated. During this period, he refined a lot of necklaces that can identify the evil spirit race. In fact, this thing is quite simple to refine, he just needs to put a little evil spirit race's blood in it. He killed so many evil spirit race people, and he deliberately extracted a lot of their blood to test, and finally, he was able to make such a necklace. The principle is very simple, as long as the evil spirit race is around, there will be a reaction, similar to the feeling of discovering the same race. To put it bluntly, it is to let the blood of the same race find the same race. This necklace is not even a spirit tool, it is like ordinary iron, it has no effect at all. The only effect was to find the evil spirit race. It was that simple. Because of this, he only needed a few materials to make a large batch of necklaces. It was as if he didn't need money, and he could easily make tens of thousands of necklaces. If he were to continue refining for a few more days, he would be able to pile them up into a mountain. The reason he did this was so that he could completely kill all the evil spirit race. It had nothing to do with the main mission, it was all to exterminate all the evil spirit race. It would be too difficult for him to kill them alone. He would need the power of the entire mortal world or the power of all the empires to be able to kill these evil spirit race. While he was trying his best to refine the necklace, the situation of the Demon Cloud City quickly spread to the outside world. After many forces learned about it, they were greatly shocked. They didn't expect such a demon to exist in the Heavenly Cloud's empire, and many empires were scared to ally with the Heavenly Cloud's empire. If there were really demons hiding nearby, how could they not panic? They needed a large number of necklaces to find these evil spirit races. They are not afraid of demon beasts, they can at least recognize them at a glance, but evil spirit race is different, they can easily hide among them like a human, how can they not panic? Ding, Fading Empire successfully formed an alliance, gained 2 billion EXP, 200,000 crazy point, 200,000 proficiency. Ding, Huayan Empire successfully formed an alliance, gained 1.5 billion EXP, 150,000 crazy point, 150,000 proficiency. Ding, Qingyun Sect successfully formed an alliance, gained 50 million EXP, 50,000 crazy point, 10,000 proficiency. Ding, the news of successfully forming an alliance with the Heavenly Cloud's empire began to spread like wildfire, including some small forces. The Heavenly Cloud's empire will definitely not take the initiative to find this alliance, they will only find the imperial forces, not the small forces. Therefore, the Heavenly Cloud's empire will certainly not refuse these small forces who came to form an alliance. Some of them don't need any benefits, they just want these necklaces. Lee Tianyun refined a batch of necklaces, but it was completely out of supply. In the beginning he refined 10,000 necklaces a day, but later he refined 20,000 to 30,000 necklaces a day. Fortunately, the necklaces are the most common profound iron, otherwise, it would be really terrible. How can there be so many resources to refine so many necklaces? It should be said that each force can only give a few necklaces, no more than that. Now, the only way to get these necklaces is to form an alliance, so many imperial forces immediately chose to form an alliance. Originally, they were hesitant about why Yi Tianyun formed an alliance, thinking that he wanted to be the alliance master or something. Now, they realized that they were wrong. It turned out that Yi Tianyun wanted to form an alliance to suppress these evil spirit race. Some believe it, and most would rather believe it than not. Some remained silent, but soon it led to another outbreak. Because some forces relied on these necklaces to immediately find the evil spirit race hiding in their own forces, and after killing them, they found out that it was really another race. Suddenly, the voices rose again, and those who were disdainful and didn't believe Yi Tianyun at first, but later on, they rushed to worship Yi Tianyun. Because some forces have long noticed that something is wrong, why do people always disappear? It turns out that they were swallowed by the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun can be said to be very busy. He has been refining necklaces, and at the same time, honed his forging level. Unsurprisingly, he easily broke through to the level of forging master, and quickly advanced to the level of forging grandmaster. The speed is quite amazing. It is rare for him to concentrate on forging necklaces, and the proficiency he gained is amazing. He doesn't need to fight and kill now, he can leave it to the imperial forces in the mortal world. They have a large number of people, and killing them is more efficient. Not only does it waste time, but it also gives him no experience. After a full month of refining, Yi Tianyun has refined a lot of necklaces. The number can be said to be quite amazing, at least 1 million. Compared to the mortal world, it is a drop in the bucket, but giving each force 100 necklaces is enough. If everyone was given one, wouldn't he go crazy from refining? At least in the tens of billions, the mortal world is smaller than the heaven world, but it still has an amazing number of people. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun, successfully broke through to the 7th layer of Saint King stage. Chapter 785. After Yi Tianyun finished refining the necklace, he took the 12 golden hairpins back to the Heavenly Clouds Empire. As for the mermaid race, he arranged for them to stay in the sea. At the same time, he gave them great authority in the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar, allowing them to control most areas of the Heaven Ascending Divine Altar except for him. As for other cultivators, they wouldn't have any thoughts about the mermaid race at all. Regardless of whether the mermaid race was the hero who resisted the demons or not, just Yi Tianyun said that no one would dare to touch them anymore. After all, many cultivators were too lazy to care about such things. They just wanted to live now. The demons were things of the past, and it had nothing to do with them. For this reason, Yi Tianyun had to issue an order. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to protect them. The mermaid race's current situation was relatively weak, and facing so many cultivators, they would always be attacked. After returning to the Heavenly Clouds Empire, Yi Tianyun immediately arranged for the 12 golden hairpins to be the law enforcement hall here, and let Yue and the others teach them well. From now on, they would be the law enforcement team here, specializing in beheading traitors or evil spirit race hiding nearby. At the same time, they could patrol the Alliance Empire at any time, and they had the absolute right to kill. They could kill those who obstructed them, and they could also kill evil spirit race. As long as they obstructed them, they would be killed. As Yi Tianyun's divine generals, they were extremely loyal, so they would definitely be given great power. Of course, Yue and the others weren't divine generals, but they were also absolutely loyal. The difference was that they were Yi Tianyun's friends and confidants, so they couldn't betray him. Their high favorability was enough to explain everything. Yi Tianyun had a very simple way of using people. In addition to their ability, their favorability must be absolutely high. A high favorability meant absolute loyalty, and the higher it went, the more impossible it would go down. They had absolute trust in him, and no matter how many rumors there were outside, they wouldn't believe it. Even if it was true, so what? So what if they were enemies with the world? It's almost time to return to the underworld. This trip to the underworld was undoubtedly to see the situation of the descendants of the ancient underworld god king. His biggest problem now was to unite the absolute power of the 3 realms, so that they could work together to resist the terrifying demons. Although he could go in and kill countless demonic beasts to make a breakthrough in his cultivation level, he could not do so. However, the difficulty was slightly higher as there weren't many monstrous beasts at the St. King stage, and even St. King stage powerhouses were few in number. It would be difficult for him to break through in a short period of time. Even if he did, he would not be able to take care of the situation in the three realms. Godly kings were not absolutely invincible. The situation at the beginning was the best proof. 3 godly kings had joined forces to resist, but they had still created such a terrifying, destructive situation. To put it bluntly, a single god king could not take care of the entire 3 realms. Perhaps he would say that it was enough to protect the mortal realm and that the other worlds had nothing to do with him. But the problem was precisely the most serious. If the heaven realm and the underworld were conquered, they would be attacked from the front and back. Once they launched a general attack, they would definitely be destroyed. With Yi Tianyun's strength, he might be able to survive, but what about the others? What about his family and friends? Everything would sink into fear and a sense of helplessness. Unless one was unbelievably powerful and could casually envelop every corner of the 3 realms, it was necessary to establish a powerful force. Therefore, after giving his instructions, he quickly flew to the underworld. During this period, experience points were constantly being transferred to him. If he formed an alliance with a force, he would definitely gain a lot of experience points. If I can form an alliance with a divine kingdom, I wonder how much experience points I can gain? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. In the heaven realm, he could borrow the power of the Feng Tian divine kingdom to form an alliance with other divine kingdoms. The experience points he would gain would definitely be amazing, right? But this plan had to be put on hold for the time being. Without absolute strength, no one would be willing to form an alliance. At the end of the day, he still needed absolute strength to form an alliance. If he did not have absolute strength, even if he formed an alliance, he could only listen to others. No matter what, he planned to go to the underworld to deal with some matters. He was afraid that there would not be much time left. Soon, he arrived at the underworld. The environment here had not changed much. As soon as he arrived, he directly flew to the heavenly netherworld's sacred ground. The area where the heavenly netherworld's sacred ground was located was naturally not in the area of the heavenly netherworld divine kingdom, but in an extremely remote area of the underworld. It could be said that the heavenly netherworld sacred ground claimed to be the coldest area. If the heavenly netherworld sacred ground said that it was the second coldest, no one would dare to say that it was the coldest. The terrifying cold was enough to instantly turn a spirit core cultivator into an ice sculpture. But it was in this terrible place that the ancient underworld divine king had established his own divine kingdom. It was really incredible. Didn't it mean that his descendants would die here before reaching the spirit core stage? Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. The ancient underworld divine kingdom was probably doomed. Because in the ranking outside, there was no trace of the ancient underworld divine kingdom at all. Just like the flying divine kingdom established by the heaven-creating divine king, it had disappeared without a trace. The older generation of the divine kingdoms still knew about these divine kingdoms, but most of the younger generation had long since forgotten about these divine kingdoms. At his amazing speed, he still flew for more than half a month. Finally, he arrived at the most remote area. As soon as he arrived, a terrifying cold immediately swept over. It could really quickly freeze the cultivation of those below the spirit core stage. Looking from afar, there was a world of ice and snow in front of him. It was also a world of ice and snow, but the ice and snow here was dozens of times more terrifying than what he saw outside. He could vaguely see the heavenly Een fire floating in the air. Even on the ground, he could see the heavenly Een fire and the netherworld fire that had not evolved from time to time. This could be said to be the birthplace of the netherworld fire. If a cultivator walked here and was touched by the netherworld fire, how could he not be frozen into an ice sculpture? Along the way, he could see a lot of human-shaped ice sculptures and ice sculptures of demonic beasts. Of course, these were not carved by people, but a group of cultivators or demonic beasts who intended to explore this place. In addition, in the sky of the ice and snow, there was a tall tower that pierced the sky, as if it connected the sky and the earth together. The invincible pagoda was shocking to behold. This tower was the ancient underworld divine kingdom. Yes, the ancient underworld divine kingdom was this tower. It was not a huge city, but a tower that pierced the sky, and the top could not be seen at all. Chapter 786. Is this the ancient underworld divine pagoda? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes, and detailed information immediately appeared in front of him. Ancient underworld god pagoda, high-grade god weapon. Possesses absolute suppressive power. It can change its size at will. The internal space can be expanded to more than 1,000 miles. At the same time, it could suck in experts and trap them, making it impossible for them to escape. Furthermore, they could set any rules inside, and those who violated the rules would be severely punished. It was indeed a super divine artifact. It could suck powerful enemies into it and throw it at them. It could change its size at will. From afar, it looked so terrifying. If it was pressed down, who would be able to resist? Especially since it had the ability to expand to more than 1,000 miles. Even if someone could travel 1,000 miles in an instant, they would be crushed by the ancient Ming god pagoda. More than 1,000 li was not the limit, but it could continue to expand. The ancient Ming divine pagoda was a heaven-guarding divine artifact created by the king of the heavens with his blood, sweat, and tears. It was made by combining the essence blood of the ancient underworld godly king and countless precious materials. It could be said to be one of the greatest achievements of the king of the heavens. However, this wasn't his greatest achievement, as it had long since been taken away. They wanted to leave this place and fight in an unknown place. They definitely needed some treasures to protect themselves. Otherwise, it would be a waste if they died outside. The main reason why the King of the Heavens was willing to put in so much effort to forge a high-grade god weapon was because it was meant to fend off demons. The effect was the same as that of the 10 stars. They were all left here to suppress the demons. However, its effect was even more astonishing. It was not without reason that it was standing here. This area was the key point where the demons had charged in at the very beginning. It was like a gate. The ancient Ming divine pagoda was like a gate that blocked off the demons from entering. If one tried to force their way in, they would be immediately sucked in and punished. Because of this, a high-grade godly weapon like the ancient underworld divine pagoda was not taken away. Instead, it was left here as the most powerful godly weapon to guard the underworld. At the same time, the ancient underworld divine pagoda was also the castle of the ancient underworld divine kingdom. It was just that they couldn't control the ancient Ming divine pagoda, but they were all under the protection of the ancient Ming divine pagoda. It sounded very safe. A high-grade divine artifact could protect them like that. How could it possibly deteriorate? The truth was cruel. There was no news about the ancient Ming divine kingdom in the outside world. It was as if it had completely disappeared. Now, he was going to solve the puzzle and see what the divine kingdom of ancient Ming had become. Did it decline, or did it continue to survive? He quickly flew over, but just as he was about to arrive, a pressure began to fall from the sky. Even with his Saint King Stage 7 stage cultivation, he was still suppressed to the point where he couldn't continue to fly. He was facing a high-grade god artifact, one that possessed a large amount of ancient underworld godly king's blood essence. This was equivalent to standing in front of a god king. A Saint King stage powerhouse was like an ant. Although the power that Yi Tianyun had unleashed was enough to suppress everything, and he might even be comparable to a god king, it was still just an estimate. He had never fought against a god king before, so he wasn't clear on the specifics. It was just that from the looks of it, there was still quite a gap between them and a god king. They were easily suppressed, unable to fly. If their cultivation bases were the same, they wouldn't be suppressed like this. Their strength wouldn't be affected, and they would definitely be able to fly. If I unleash my full power, I should be able to fly. Tianyun narrowed his eyes and unleashed his full power. It was very likely that he would be able to fly, but he didn't intend to fly. Instead, he planned to walk step by step. Because there were cultivators all around, there were not many people walking towards the ancient Ming divine pagoda. Although it was dangerous here, there were many people who came here. Their cultivation bases were above the core transformation stage, and there were also spirit core stage cultivators. However, they had an ice attribute physique, so they would definitely be able to resist. The cultivation bases below the spirit core stage referred to most of them, but there would be no problem for a few. For example, cultivators with an ice attribute physique, or cultivators with mystical flames. At a glance, Yi Tianyun knew that they were definitely not from the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom. They were dressed differently, and it was obvious that this was the first time they had come here. Before coming here, he had inquired about the situation here a little bit. Some people knew that there was an ancient Ming Divine Pagoda here, but those who went there never came back, so no one knew what happened. Over time, no one paid attention to this matter, or they didn't dare to go there. Even so, there were still people who went there, and the cultivators in front of him were examples. Fellow cultivators, are you all planning to go to the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom? Yi Tianyun took the initiative to walk over and ask. When Yi Tianyun came over and asked, they immediately became vigilant. Under their thick clothes, their heads were exposed, and they looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe. They were wearing very thick clothes, while Yi Tianyun was wearing very little. There was still a big gap between them. Senior, we are indeed going to the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom. Is there a problem? They directly called him Senior. Those who dared to wear so little here were either invincible cultivators, or the clothes they were wearing were precious armor. Otherwise, who would dare to wear so little in such a cold place? They were able to resist the cold, but they could barely do so. Why are you here? Didn't they say that only people can enter the ancient Ming Divine Kingdom, but no one can leave? How dare you go there? Yi Tianyun was very curious about their purpose of coming to such a dangerous place. It's a long story. We are afraid that the walls have ears. I wonder if Senior can come closer? One of the core transformation stage cultivators said. Yi Tianyun didn't think much of it. He lifted his feet and walked over. It seemed that he was really listening to the teacher. Come closer. The core transformation stage cultivator continued to say. Tianyun did the same. When he just moved his head closer, a cold light flashed in the hand of the core transformation stage cultivator, and he greeted his neck. In an instant, the core transformation stage cultivator burst out with all his strength, and wanted to pierce through his head in one fell swoop. However, Yi Tianyun was faster than him. He grabbed the core transformation stage cultivator's hand and crushed it. At the same time, he sneered and said, I just want to ask something. I didn't expect you to attack me. Do you really think that I am stupid and can be fooled at will? The core transformation stage cultivator was so strange, and he knew that there was a problem. It was safe enough to send a sound transmission, but he still wanted to whisper in his ear. Only a fool would do that. The other core transformation stage cultivators immediately rushed towards Yi Tianyun. They wanted to save their boss. Yi Tianyun lifted his foot and kicked the other two core transformation stage cultivators. Bang! The other two core transformation stage cultivators were kicked away, and after rolling on the ground for a few times, they were no longer breathing. I will speak, I will speak. The core transformation stage cultivator shouted in horror. His companions were killed, so how could he dare to resist? I don't want to listen to you now. In my opinion, you are here to seek refuge. The more dangerous it is, the more you will come to seek refuge. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. How do you know? The core transformation stage cultivator revealed his face. His face was full of scars. It was obvious that he had killed many people and robbed them. Otherwise, how could he be so skilled in killing people? Just by looking at you guys, I know what you guys do. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. I didn't want to pay attention to you, but who knew that you would really attack me? Go to hell. Chapter 787. Yi Tianyun saw through their tricks easily. He just pretended to go there to play, but they still want to kill him, so that they can earn more money by robbing him. If it was some ignorant fool, he might have been fooled, but it was too boring for him. If they couldn't see through it, then they shouldn't have come out to train, or they wouldn't even know why they died outside. Ancient underworld divine pagoda, a holy place to hide? Yi Tianyun squinted and looked at the ancient underworld divine pagoda in the distance. Because it was extremely dangerous here, many people would choose to hide. It was the same as many cultivators in the mortal world, who chose to go to the netherworld to seek refuge or to train in the netherworld. Many of the cultivators who went to the ancient underworld divine pagoda now had committed serious crimes and were wanted. They didn't have to enter the ancient underworld divine pagoda, they could hide in a corner. The more dangerous a place was, the safer it was. According to the danger zone ranking, the ancient underworld divine pagoda was ranked first. It could be said that it was the most dangerous area in the netherworld. There were netherworld fire and heavenly fire everywhere. If one was not careful, they would definitely become an ice sculpture. Without the cultivation of the Spirit King stage, they would basically die if they were hit by the heavenly fire. They didn't even have to struggle, they would directly become an ice sculpture. Although it was a holy place to hide, there were also many people who came here to look for treasures and martial arts. This was the territory of the ancient underworld deity king, and there was a high-grade divine tool in front of them. How could they not be tempted? It was just that for so many years, no one could take the ancient underworld divine pagoda, no one could. According to the memory given by the King of the Heavens, no one could take the ancient underworld divine pagoda except for the ancient underworld deity king. Even his own son couldn't control the ancient underworld divine pagoda. The function of the ancient underworld divine pagoda was to suppress the evil spirit race, so it would definitely not be taken away. If it was taken away, it would be equivalent to having no guards, and once the evil spirit race attacked, it would be a tragedy. However, there were still many strong cultivators who wanted to subdue the ancient underworld divine pagoda. It was just that those who came here never returned, no exception. Many people had seen people enter the ancient underworld divine pagoda but never come out. As time passed, everyone felt that this place was getting more and more dangerous, so no one dared to come. There were fewer people coming, but there were still people who took the risk to come here occasionally. For example, super wanted criminals, people who were about to die, or people who wanted to try their luck. Yi Tianyun looked around. The other cultivators who came with him all avoided him, not daring to get close to him. His every move had been seen by the cultivators at the side, giving them a fright. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with them. He had wanted to ask the people around him about the situation, but he didn't expect them to start fighting. Since that was the case, he couldn't be bothered with them anymore. He headed to the ancient underworld divine pagoda to take a look. His pace was very fast. As he gradually approached, the ancient Ming divine pagoda in front of him became bigger and bigger. It wasn't that the ancient Ming divine pagoda had become bigger, but the closer he got, the more he could see the entire ancient Ming divine pagoda. The area it occupied was over 1,000 miles wide, and it was like an invincible and enormous city. More importantly, it was stacked up in layers, and it was visible to the naked eye that there were at least 9 layers tall. Each layer was at least 10,000 feet high, which was really terrifying. Just this alone was equivalent to 9 cities stacked up, and it was unknown how many cultivators could be accommodated inside. This ancient Ming divine pagoda is really magnificent. Yi Tianyun looked up and saw 2 incomparably huge iron chains. Many cultivators were climbing up bit by bit, and the entire process was very difficult. The entrance to the ancient Ming divine pagoda was 1,000 feet above, which meant that if one wanted to go up, they had to climb up the iron chains. In the process of climbing, the netherworld fire was released from the iron chains, freezing people. Those with low cultivation would definitely be frozen, and then they would fall from the iron chains and be smashed into powder. Otherwise, they would have to resist the terrifying netherworld fire and suppress it so that it wouldn't hurt them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to go up. Not only was it dangerous outside, but it was also extremely dangerous up there. When he was just about to climb up, a black shadow fell from above. He grabbed it, turned it around, and put it down. The person was wrapped in a black robe and no one could see her face, but after being rescued by Yi Tianyun, she bowed her head and said, "Thank you." Her voice was crisp and sweet, and it was not a man's voice at all, but a woman's voice. After saying thank you, she continued to climb up without any intention of resting. Yi Tianyun frowned, and he didn't know what was going on. He looked up and down at her back, and the appraisal eye immediately showed the details of this person. Fan Shuechuan, 7th level of Spirit Core stage, has the bloodline of the ancient Ming Divine King. The bloodline of the ancient Ming Divine King? The appraisal eyes could still see what kind of bloodline it was, but it was still very difficult to accurately identify the evil spirit race that was hidden. After all, there were many other bloodlines mixed in, so the data presented in front of him would be more mixed, and priority would definitely be given to those with the most bloodlines. They could successfully hide in the crowd, to a large extent, because they had absorbed too many human bloodlines. Unless they exposed their true bodies, it was really difficult to detect them. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to upgrade the appraisal eye so much, so that he could detect all kinds of bloodlines. This cultivator who was wrapped up tightly was actually a descendant of the ancient Ming Divine King? He looked up at the other cultivators, and they were either very ordinary humans or other races, and they didn't have the bloodline of the ancient Ming Divine King. He frowned as he looked at Fan Shuechuan, who continued to climb up. When she stretched out her hands to grab the iron chains, her slender hands were covered with bruises, and it was obvious that she was frostbitten. But she still climbed up firmly bit by bit. With her cultivation, it was not easy to climb up here. Her cultivation was already at the bottom line, and climbing this iron chain was simply courting death. Fortunately, the surging netherworld fire didn't cause any harm to her, or it should be said that it didn't have any effect. It was so difficult for her to climb up, mainly because she was injured. Yi Tianyun was curious as to why she needed to climb up. Wasn't she the descendant of the ancient Ming Divine King? Why couldn't she climb up easily? I must go up and take back our things. She clenched her teeth and climbed up bit by bit. However, he didn't climb for long before he slid down from the top with a crash. He basically slid down along the iron chains. As he slid down, a deep bloody gash appeared on his palm. Chapter 788. Fan Shuechuan did not slow down after she failed to climb up. She planned to continue climbing without any intention of resting. Judging from her current situation, she would never be able to climb up again. Her life might even be in danger. If not for him, she would have been seriously injured by the fall. If she had climbed to a height of 70 or 80 feet, she would have been smashed into a meat patty. Do you need help? Yi Tianyun asked. Fan Shuechuan, who was about to climb up, was startled. She immediately shook her head and said, "No need. Thank you for your kindness, but I can do it myself. Moreover, if I bring someone up here, I won't be able to climb up at all. The power will be greatly enhanced and it might hurt you." She did not show her face, nor did she ask for help from Yi Tianyun. She reached out and continued to grab the chain, ready to climb up. Are you the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king? The sudden question scared Fan Shuechuan so much that she jumped back. She quickly took out a dagger and pointed it at him, her hands trembling. Who are you? Her voice was trembling. She was vigilant and full of killing intent. But looking at her face, there was no doubt that she had admitted that she was the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king. Of course, even if she did not admit it, the appraisal eye could see it. He originally thought that the evil spirit race had devoured the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king and possessed the bloodline of the ancient underworld deity king. But the necklace hanging on her did not flicker red, which meant that she was not the descendant of the evil spirit race. If it was the evil spirit race, he would definitely continue to release red light. At that time, he would not even give the other party a chance to speak and would have already slashed down with his blade. I'm just guessing. This is the territory of the ancient underworld deity king. Can't she be the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king? Yi Tianyun did not say that he was the descendant of the heaven-creating divine king. He just wanted to find out what was going on with her and why she was here. Using the charming eye was the most time-saving, but for the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king, he would not use it for the time being. How is this possible? The top has long been occupied by a group of scum. Fan Shuechuan didn't admit it. I'm not the descendant of the ancient underworld godly monarch. You can't say such things carelessly, or you'll get yourself killed. It's been occupied by a bunch of scumbags. Who would have the ability to do that? Lee Tianyun squinted his eyes. As expected, things weren't as simple as they seemed. In fact, there was a huge problem. You'll know when you get up there. I'm going up now. Fan Shueishuan reached out and grabbed the chain, ready to continue climbing. Wait, I heard that once you enter, you won't be able to get out. If you go in, won't you be unable to come out? Lee Tianyun asked. Who can't say it's impossible? I just need to meet some conditions before I can come out. Fan Shueishuan did not explain too much and continued to climb up. However, from her words, he could already tell that it was possible. It was just that there were some conditions. Soon after, Fan Shueishuan continued to climb up. Her speed was neither fast nor slow. She couldn't go fast even if she wanted to, so she could only climb up bit by bit. Not long after, she faintly felt that she wanted to slide down. As expected, she didn't persist for long. Her hands that were grabbing the chain loosened and she fell from the sky once again. The other cultivators revealed a mocking smile. She was overestimating herself. She obviously couldn't go up, but she still insisted. Wasn't she courting death? Just as she was about to fall, a figure scuttled up from above and hugged her. She was firmly fixed on the chain. It's you! When Fan Shueishuan saw that the person hugging her was Lee Tianyun, she was shocked. She hurriedly said, Quickly let go. If you continue like this, the netherworld flame that surges out will freeze you. Sure enough, when he was fixed on the chain, a terrifying netherworld flame immediately surged out and drilled into his body, wanting to freeze him on the chain. Under normal circumstances, climbing up would occasionally cause him to be attacked by the netherworld flame. But now, there was an endless stream of attacks. This was more terrifying, especially when the effect was several times stronger than usual. This was the price to pay for bringing someone up. It's okay, I'll bring you up. Lee Tianyun quickly climbed up with her. At this time, many cultivators on the side saw this and immediately laughed. Ha, this fool actually brought someone up. Isn't he courting death? That's right. It's clearly stated that we can't bring anyone up. Whoever brings someone up will die. This guy is trying to be a hero. He even brought someone up. What an idiot. In my opinion, he doesn't know the rules. It's a pity. If the kid who was brought up fell down with him, both of them would be dead. Many of the cultivators, whether they were climbing up or preparing to climb down, shook their heads. They felt that this was overestimating themselves. Some people could indeed persist and climb up. But who could resist the terrifying heavenly Een flame at the end? Therefore, the early stage was not terrible. What was terrible was climbing to the end. If both of them fell down, it would really be over. They couldn't fly and were frozen. It would be hard not to die. There were many pieces of ice on the snow. Many of them were corpses. This was the best proof. Continue to climb up. You will die. Fan Shueishuan hurriedly shouted. Believe me. Lee Tianyun's deep and low voice drilled into her ears. His firm and confident voice shook her heart. She immediately became silent. She silently stayed in his arms, motionless. Lee Tianyun's speed was getting faster and faster. The netherworld flame was nothing to him. He easily absorbed it into his body and turned it into proficiency. Soon he climbed more than half of the 100 zhang height. Many people who were not optimistic about Lee Tianyun were stunned. Why was this different from what they had agreed? His speed didn't slow down at all. Instead, it continued to increase. At this speed, he would soon reach the top. Soon, the heavenly Een flame will be released. At that time, he will die. Many of them were convinced in their hearts that Lee Tianyun would certainly be frozen into an ice sculpture by the heavenly Een flame. Although it was their first time coming here, the rumor was already deeply rooted. They believed that no one could escape the attack of the heavenly Een flame. However, they thought too much. When Lee Tianyun climbed up to 80 zhang with Fan Shueishuan, the heavenly Een flame quickly drilled into his body, wanting to freeze him. Be careful! Fan Shueishuan saw the heavenly Een flame gushing out from the iron chain and hastily warned. Lee Tianyun revealed a trace of smile. He didn't stop and continued to climb up. When the heavenly Yin flame drilled into his body, it was completely devoured in the blink of an eye. Dane successfully absorbed the heavenly Yin flame, gaining 2,000 proficiency. Chapter 789. How is this possible? Fan Shueshuan watched as the heavenly Yin fire disappeared into Yi Tianyun's body. Nothing happened. Not even a little bit of cold air was released from his arm. It looked so ordinary and had no effect at all. It was obvious that the heavenly Yin fire had been absorbed. It didn't cause any harm to him. She was shocked. Not only Fan Shueshuan, but the others also had the same thought. They clearly saw a large amount of heavenly Yin fire gushing out from the iron chain, but it had no effect on him. It was completely absorbed. This is impossible. Basically, no one can subdue the heavenly Yin fire. Is there some kind of power in his body? Everyone was stunned. While they were shocked, Yi Tianyun climbed up the iron chain and brought Fan Shueshuan to the platform above the iron chain. They successfully reached the entrance. There was no difficulty at all. The whole process was balanced. There was no acceleration or deceleration. It was very fast from the beginning. It took a total of a jaw's stick time to reach the top easily. This speed was not the fastest. In fact, he could go even faster, such as using teleportation. However, this was a little too exaggerated. Even if he used his normal climbing speed, he would scare Fan Shueshuan if he went too fast. After successfully reaching the top, everyone was shocked. They didn't know what to say. They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Are you the descendant of the ancient underworld god king? At this time, the black robe on Fan Shueshuan's head fell down, revealing her beautiful appearance. She had blue eyes. There was a blue flower on her forehead that looked like a flame. She looked at most 15 or 16 years old. She was worthy of being the descendant of the ancient underworld god king with such cultivation. However, this was still relatively low. It seemed that the resources were not good. Otherwise, it was impossible for her cultivation to be so low. The descendant of the ancient underworld god king's bloodline was definitely not bad. It was obvious that they had declined. They had also lost control of the ancient underworld god pagoda. I am not the descendant of the ancient underworld god king. Yi Tianyun denied. How is it possible? Otherwise, how can you absorb the heavenly Yin fire? Fan Shueshuan questioned. The world is full of wonders, but I'm not the descendant of the ancient underworld godly king. You look so familiar. Are you the descendant of the ancient underworld godly king? Yi Tianyun already knew that she was the descendant of the ancient underworld godly king, but he still couldn't help but tease her. I am not the descendant of the ancient underworld deity king. Fan Shueshuan quickly refuted. If you talk nonsense, you'll be punished. Especially if ancient underworld god king finds out about it. If his descendant doesn't admit it, he'll be very sad. Yi Tianyun teased. Fan Shueshuan hurriedly covered her mouth and looked around, but there was no one around. Her eyes were filled with panic. Cough cough, I was just talking nonsense. I am the descendant of the ancient underworld godly king. You tricked me. She suddenly realized that her words seemed to have been ruthlessly drawn out of her, and her identity was completely exposed. When did I trick you? I just said that if you're the descendant of the ancient underworld godly king, and you don't admit that you're the descendant, the ancient underworld godly king will be very sad. Yi Tianyun spread out his hands helplessly. Fan Shueshuan suddenly exploded in anger. She pouted and looked at him angrily. She raised her hand and was about to hit him. Then she put down her hand and humphed. Since you brought me up here, I won't argue with you. I hope you can keep it a secret for me. If you can keep it a secret, I'll pay you as a reward for bringing me up here. Keep it a secret? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. I don't need any reward. I want to know the current situation of the ancient underworld holy kingdom. Just tell me this. What could Fan Shueshuan give him as a reward? It would be a good heaven-level martial art or a divine tool. She might not even have any. It might be an earth-level martial art, but it meant nothing to him. He just wanted to know the situation of the ancient underworld Holy Kingdom. What's the situation of the ancient underworld Holy Kingdom? Fan Shueishuan smiled miserably. She turned around and walked towards the door. She said faintly, "If you want to know, come in with me. You'll know in a while." Fan Shueishuan led him inside. Yi Tianyun nodded. The best way was to go in and see the situation. Looking up, what he saw was a huge door. A door without a door was a huge entrance. From here, he couldn't see anything at all. It was dark inside, like a bottomless pit. Once he got close, he would be sucked in. Although I said before that you can come out after you go in, you have to pay a big price to come out. Especially since it's controlled by someone, it's even more difficult. Are you ready? Fan Shueishuan turned to look at him. There was some determination in her light blue eyes. It won't be difficult for me to come out. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. All right then, come with me. This is the ancient underworld divine pagoda. After you go in, it won't be easy to come out. Fan Shueishuan smiled and led him inside. They gradually disappeared into the ancient underworld divine pagoda. Yi Tianyun also stepped into the ancient underworld divine pagoda. It was as if he had passed through a water door. There were ripples on the surface. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its original calmness. At the same time, not long after they went in, a group of people quickly rushed over. Each of them was wearing a black robe. This black robe was not an ordinary black robe. It was the same one that Fan Shueishuan was wearing. It could block others from probing. This thing is still very useful for ordinary people, but it's useless for Yi Tianyun, as he can explore inside and outside of the room. Why didn't you look after the princess? You actually let her go to the ancient underworld divine pagoda alone. A low voice came from behind. That person sighed. He didn't know what to say, but his tone was full of self-blame. Stop talking. Hurry up and chase after her. It was so dangerous along the way, but we didn't see the princess. She might have already reached the ancient underworld divine pagoda. If she goes in, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for her to come out. Especially since it's been occupied by those demons and they're still chasing after her. Damn it! How could there be such a careless mistake? If she really goes in, it'll be very difficult. If she goes in, I'll go in and bring her out. Great Elder, if you go in, I'm afraid you'll also be trapped in there. Most of the ancient underworld divine pagoda is now under control. Even if we are the descendants of our ancestors, we have to go through layers of tests. Do you think we have any other way now? Chapter 790. After Yi Tianyun entered, he saw an extremely spacious space. From afar, he could see a vast grassland. Not far away, there was a forest. It was exactly the scenery outside. There was also a huge city in the distance. It felt like the capital of the outside world. The most eye-catching thing was the staircase that connected to the sky. It formed a gyroscope and kept spinning upward, connecting to the sky. When the two of them had just entered, a few rays of light flashed in the sky and fiercely burned down from the sky. A flame was fiercely burned on their hands, and it looked like a netherworld flame. What's going on? Yi Tianyun looked at the netherworld fire in his hands and felt a little puzzled. He didn't know about this from the King of the Heavens. After all, the rules were set by the ancient underworld god king, and it had nothing to do with the King of the Heavens. This is the netherworld divine mark. In the past, only the people of the ancient underworld divine kingdom could have this pass. Without this mark, it means that you are not one of us, but someone from the outside world. Without this mark, you can't continue to go up and enter the higher floors. The higher you go, the more resources and spiritual power there will be. Now that the rules have been slightly changed, the situation in the ancient underworld divine tower has changed. As long as you enter, you can obtain this mark. As the number of marks increases, you can go up to the higher floors of the tower. When you reach the peak, you will become the master of this tower. You can control part of the rules at will and decide a person's life. Fan Shueishuan's favorable impression of Yi Tianyun was not low. It was more than 100 favorable impression points, which was enough for her to tell him the details. Moreover, it was not a secret. It had become the rules here. Can control part of the rules at will, Tianyun frowned. It was not surprising that this would happen. This was the case in the Fengtian divine kingdom. As long as one had a strong bloodline and was recognized by the bloodline stele, he could control the corresponding star power. It was the same here. As long as one's position was high and the recognition was high, he could release more power. That's right. A long time ago, the ancient underworld divine kingdom was very prosperous. Until one day, our people became fewer and fewer. It was as if we had disappeared into thin air. Then, after our pagoda master died, everything changed. Fan Shueishuan's voice was extremely cold. A group of experts came. They were not from the ancient Ming holy nation, but they were recognized by the ancient Ming holy pagoda. They killed their way up and occupied priority positions. In the end, they forcibly occupied this area and made the ancient Ming divine pagoda their territory. Then we will lose all our advantages. This is clearly our territory, but we can only leave quickly. Otherwise, our entire army will die here. She clenched her fists tightly, and her eyes reddened. Anger gushed out from the depths of her eyes, and her delicate body trembled. Tianyun could imagine the situation at that time. It was definitely a nightmare. The death of the pagoda master meant that the person who controlled the greatest rules was dead. Then, everything would have to be reshuffled. It was impossible for the ancient Ming divine kingdom to stay here forever. They had to go out to look for resources, communicate with other divine kingdoms, or send their disciples out to gain experience. It was only natural that the pagoda master went out. Clearly he had died outside. He didn't know how he died, but he was sure that he died miserably. It was the demons who forced you into such a desperate situation, wasn't it? It was the evil spirit race. Tianyun already had the answer in his heart. It was definitely the evil spirit race who could do such a thing. Only the evil spirit race could devour the bloodline of others and make it their own. By then, they would be able to deceive their way through and successfully sneak in to seize power. The ancient Ming divine pagoda favored the descendants of the ancient Ming divine kings, but they were already recognized, which was why such a scene had happened. You even know that? Fan Shueishuan said with red eyes, I thought that no one knew about this. If it wasn't for the ancient Ming divine kingdom, the netherworld would have fallen long ago. Who knew that when we asked for help from other divine kingdoms, not only did they ignore us, but they also chased us away and even wanted to steal our resources. Cruel, cold, disgusting. He had experienced such a feeling when he was in the Fengtian divine kingdom. All of them looked righteous, but their hearts were like a stinking ditch. Of course I know. I can even feel that there are many evil spirit race in the city ahead. I didn't expect the ancient Ming divine pagoda, which was supposed to punish the evil spirit race, to become their territory. It's really ironic. Tianyun shook his head and said doubtfully, logically speaking, the ancient Ming divine pagoda is a high-grade divine artifact, so it should be able to recognize it. It's impossible to deceive the ancient Ming divine pagoda's item spirit just by devouring the bloodline power. It was fine if the heaven ascending divine pagoda was deceived. That was just a phantom, not an item spirit. As a high-grade divine artifact, the ancient Ming divine pagoda's item spirit must be very terrifying. Logically speaking, it should be able to suppress everything. No item spirit. The ancient Ming divine pagoda doesn't have an item spirit. Fan Shueishuan's eyes were filled with despair. No item spirit. Tianyun was instantly speechless. He felt very shocked, but he quickly reacted. It's because your ancestors didn't have enough power to awaken the item spirit of this high-grade divine artifact. Fan Shueishuan didn't nod to admit it, but she also didn't shake her head to deny it. There was no doubt that this was the case. It wasn't easy to have an item spirit. Firstly, the owner had absolute power. Secondly, the owner had to bring the item spirit to kill enemies and cultivate the relationship between them. That was how the item spirit gradually evolved. Now that there was no item spirit, the ancient Ming divine king couldn't control this big guy completely. He didn't expect that the ancient Ming Divine King couldn't even control a high-grade divine artifact with his power. It was very likely that the creation of this thing was beyond their imagination. They thought it was a top divine artifact to suppress the evil spirit race, but now it had become their territory. It was a sad thing. The original evil spirit race would definitely die if they came in, but the evil spirit race with the devouring bloodline had sneaked in. They were the descendants of the ancient Ming divine nation. So this is the truth behind the decline of the ancient Ming divine nation. Yi Tianyun was full of murderous intent. He thought he could find the descendants of the ancient Ming divine nation here. He found them, but the ancient Ming divine pagoda was stolen. That's right. Now you know. I don't have any companions here. I beg you to help me take back the ancient Ming divine pagoda. If you can take back the ancient Ming divine pagoda, we will definitely reward you handsomely. Fan Shueshuan's tone was full of sincerity. Are you so sure that I can help you? The key is that you trust me so much. Aren't you afraid that I'm from the evil spirit race? Yi Tianyun smiled. If you are from the evil spirit race, I would have sensed it long ago. I will never forget that disgusting aura. Fan Shueshuan said coldly. If you can't help me, I won't force you. I will go alone. I just hope that you don't tell me who I am. That's enough. She wanted to find a companion that she could trust. Yi Tianyun had saved her before. He knew her identity, but he didn't do anything. At least he was a companion that she could trust. Having a companion was better than being alone and helpless. That was the real tragedy. Chapter 791. Fan Shueshuan explained the general situation, such as the rules here, and other things. There were some private things that she did not say, such as the current situation of the ancient underworld divine kingdom, or where they were hiding. Yi Tianyun also didn't ask. This kind of private thing, even if Fan Shueshuan is brainless, it is impossible for her to say it out loud. Without absolute trust, it was unlikely that she would say such things. So this is how the flame brand is used. Yi Tianyun raised his hand and looked at the flame brand in his hand. In order to obtain a flame brand, one had to go to the main city of each level and enter the challenge ring to compete with other cultivators, regardless of life or death. After winning, one could obtain the other party's flame brand. After obtaining 2 flame brands, one could go to the second level. Whether it was before or now, the rules had not changed. The ancient underworld divine kingdom used extreme competition to select more powerful geniuses. Those who reached the 9th level were the Tower Masters, those who reached the 8th level were the Elders, and those who reached the 7th level were the Hall Masters. The 6th level were the Deacons. The higher one went, the more difficult it would be. It could be said that the ancient underworld divine pagoda was the ancient underworld divine kingdom. Because of its vast area, there were many people here. It could be said that it had been glorious for a time. The strongest divine kingdom in the netherworld had crushed the second divine kingdom by several times, or even more than 10 times. Layer upon layer, it was like there were 9 cities here. How could it not be shocking? The Tower Master had the power to kill, but it could not be used casually. It could only be used once within a specified time. However, there was no Tower Master here now. The most powerful ones were the Elders. It was not easy to become a Tower Master. One had to go through layers of tests. The key was that the bloodline had to be absolutely pure. There was no doubt that the bloodline of the evil spirit race was not pure enough. It was mixed with the power of other bloodlines. In other words, the descendants of the ancient underworld divine king could not absorb the blood of other people, not even a little. It was basically difficult to become a Tower Master. At most, they could only become an Elder. However, even if they became an Elder, the evil spirit race already had a lot of power and could change many rules. The current rules were changed by them, so that all the cultivators who came in could be branded with this brand. This flame brand had many benefits. One could enjoy the resources here. If he consumed a certain amount of flame imprints, he would be able to cultivate in the cultivation room. These cultivation rooms contained a lot of spiritual energy, especially when it came to cultivating the netherworld flame. It was a great help. The biggest temptation here was to be able to control the netherworld flame. Originally, he couldn't control it, but after obtaining the flame imprint, he could gradually control this power. This kind of power could be brought out, and it would not disappear after leaving. That was why this place was able to attract a steady stream of cultivators, and it was all for the sake of obtaining even greater opportunities. The problem was that if he wanted to leave, he would have to pay a certain price. That was, he would have to gather all 5 flame seals in order to leave this place. In the past, Xiaochen had not needed these 5 flame marks at all. He could summon them at will without any difficulty. 5 flame brands. I'm afraid they'll be devoured by then, right? Yi Tianyun sneered in his heart. How could he not know what the evil spirit race had done? Letting people in on a large scale was nothing more than trapping them here. Being able to climb to the 5th level meant that their talents were not bad. The more valuable it was to devour, the more nourishing it would be. Soon, when they entered the city, there were many residents. Many of them were hawking on the side, selling all kinds of treasures or spiritual medicines. The area was vast, and all kinds of spiritual medicines could grow here. There were also demonic beasts. It was like a small world, and it was not difficult for cultivators to survive here. Moreover, the spiritual energy here was denser than outside, so it was much better to cultivate here than outside. There were high and low levels of cultivation here, and there were even people at the spirit refinement stage. Because it was not easy to go out, some people took root here and slowly cultivated. They also gave birth here with other cultivators. Although there were very few cultivators coming here now, it could be said that a long time ago, there had been a large number of cultivators coming here. Before coming here, he had investigated the ancient underworld divine pagoda. There was a rumor that they were recruiting cultivators on a large scale, and they would take as many as they wanted. After a series of tests, they would be able to obtain decent heaven-level martial arts. Because of this news, all the small forces and empires had come on a large scale. Even the God Nation wanted the inheritance of the ancient underworld divine king. Therefore, a lot of people were sent over, and the place was immediately filled with people. These people had come in a long time ago, and so far, no one had gone out. Over time, the ancient underworld divine pagoda was known as a dangerous place, and there was no return. There are still many people here, but they don't know that they have become food for the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun shook his head. These people did not know their situation, and they had become food for the evil spirit race. That's right. We have to climb up step by step. Even if they control the rules, they do not have absolute control. As long as we rush up, I will become an elder and fight my way to the position of the pagoda master. Then, the ancient underworld divine pagoda will return to our hands. Fan Shueishuan's goal was brutal, but it was also extremely difficult. Your elders have never thought of this? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. They have, but they can't fight against them. Especially if their cultivation is too high, they will be easily discovered. I can hide my bloodline power, and the evil spirit race will not be able to discover me, Fan Shueishuan explained. So that's how it is, but I don't have much time. Let's go to the arena now. Yi Tianyun and Fan Shueishuan directly went to the arena in the center of the city. There were already many cultivators fighting each other in the huge arena. Killing the opponent or knocking them out of the arena would allow them to obtain the opponent's flame brand. If the flame brand was taken away, they would not be able to challenge for a period of time. They could only recover with various kinds of elixirs outside. As soon as he arrived, he immediately felt the necklace on his chest start to emit red light, which meant that there were evil spirit race cultivators around. He looked up and did not need a necklace to see that there were more than 10 evil spirit race cultivators around him. They did not participate in the competition, but were watching from the side. It was obvious that they were spies here, watching the situation. Yi Tianyun glanced at them and jumped over without hesitation. He landed on one of the arenas and hooked his finger at one of the evil spirit race cultivators. He said indifferently, "You, come down and compete with me." Chapter 792. The range of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda was very random. As long as one could come up through the iron chain, there was no standard line. However, if one wanted to come up from the outside, it would be very difficult to come up without the cultivation of the spirit core stage. The ones with the lowest cultivation bases here were basically all young people who were born here. Most of them were above the spirit core stage, and there were many cultivators above the core transformation stage. The evil spirit race cultivator that Yi Tianyun pointed at was at 5th level core transformation stage, which was considered quite strong. Wow, this guy is a bit unfamiliar. Did he just come in? He has just come down and he already challenged the patrol envoy. He is really bold. He is either an idiot who doesn't know the situation and chose the wrong person, or he is very confident in himself and did this on purpose. Anyway, he is dead meat. The strength of the patrol envoy is not comparable to that of ordinary people. Moreover, there is only one flame mark on his arm. He is really courting death. The surrounding cultivators shook their heads and thought that it was a big joke for Yi Tianyun to challenge the patrol envoy as soon as he came down. Interesting. Are you sure you want to challenge me? A red light flashed in the depths of patrol envoy Zhao's eyes. There were 2 flame marks on his arm, but these 2 flame marks were a touch of red. This was the patrol envoy, a deacon who was responsible for patrolling the city. Private fights were prohibited in the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda. Once a private fight broke out, the person would be punished by the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda. The punishment was very simple. That was to kill the person with a bolt of lightning. If one wanted to fight or to settle a personal grudge, he had to fight in the arena. The ancient Ming Divine King had always believed that he would never fight in the dark. If he wanted to fight, he would fight openly. That's right. Can't I choose you? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Yes, you are not qualified. Patrol envoy Zhao looked at him coldly and refused to fight. He refused Yi Tianyun's challenge without hesitation. The crowd booed. It was such a pity. He had thought that he would be able to see an idiot fight with Inspector Zhao and see Inspector Zhao brutally killing a newbie. Who knew that he would choose to reject the offer? Some people could understand. Inspector Zhao's status was relatively high. If he could accept anyone's challenge, wouldn't he have died of exhaustion long ago? So you're just a coward. I thought that all patrolling envoys were strong, but it turns out that you're afraid of losing? Tianyun said disdainfully, his eyes filled with disdain. It was a simple and crude provocation without any technical content, but most people would fall for it. Do you think I'm afraid of losing? Patrol envoy Zhao was immediately enraged. Their status was high, and the reason why they didn't participate in the war was mainly because they wanted to nurture many cultivators to become stronger and then turn them into their food. If they were killed now, they would be too tender. It was like raising a bunch of pigs. They would only be able to get more meat when they were bigger. If he killed it now, the benefits he would gain would be too little. However, being provoked was another matter altogether. That's right. If you're not afraid of losing, why don't you dare to come down and compete with me? Yi Tianyun said disdainfully. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Originally, challenging the patrolling envoys was equivalent to courting death. Now that he was provoking the patrolling envoys, it was even more so. Even if he won this time, it would be difficult for him to gain a foothold. It's over, this kid. I remember that there was someone who didn't like the patrolling envoys and provoked them. In the end, he was toyed to death. Isn't that so? The patrolling envoys are all from the same nostrils. Who wouldn't be toyed to death by them? They knew that provoking the patrolling envoys would definitely anger them. Another reason why they didn't dare to challenge the patrolling envoys was that the patrolling envoys were all in groups. If they were angered, it wouldn't be a fun thing to do. Of course, Yi Tianyun knew that challenging the patrolling envoys would definitely be courting death. However, this was the effect he wanted. The so-called patrolling envoys here, or those with higher status, were all from the evil spirit race. In that case, there was no need for him to hide anything. He didn't want to waste time here. He wanted to rush up and kill these trash. In the next moment, patrolling envoy Zhao's eyes turned cold. Without hesitation, he jumped down and landed on the field. As soon as he jumped down, a layer of protective barrier immediately enveloped the two of them. At this moment, either he surrendered or the other party died. Otherwise, the protective barrier wouldn't disappear. Very good, you've successfully angered me. Patrolling Envoy Zhao waved his hand. The two flames on his arms quickly rose with a whoosh, turning into extreme flames that surged out. Circles after circles of netherworld flames enveloped him. In particular, the surrounding energy kept surging over, once again increasing his strength. Being much stronger than others of the same level was the special privilege of the patrolling envoys, absolute suppression of strength. It was precisely because of this that no one dared to challenge them. If they were to challenge them casually, it would be a dead end. Unless one's cultivation was higher than theirs, it was impossible to win. When he looked at Yi Tianyun, he realized that the person had already disappeared. When he became vigilant and wanted to see the situation around him clearly, his consciousness instantly disappeared and he completely left this world. He didn't feel anything, not even pain, and he completely lost consciousness. Bang! Patrolling Envoy Zhao's head was smashed by a punch and turned into a headless corpse that fell to the ground. Blood splashed on the ground in front of him. A patrolling Envoy Zhao was killed so easily that the other party didn't even have time to react. After everyone saw this, they were suddenly dumbfounded. What kind of powerful flame was this? What kind of powerful patrolling Envoy Zhao was killed with a single punch? Such a terrifying speed, even they couldn't see it, and patrolling Envoy Zhao died just like that. As a Saint King stage cultivator, dealing with a core transformation stage cultivator was like killing an ant. If he couldn't even do this, he might as well kill himself. Moreover, Tianyun suppressed his cultivation to achieve this. To deal with trash like this, there was no need to expose his full strength. If he exposed his strength so quickly, it would not be fun. After killing patrolling Envoy Zhao, the flame mark on his arm flew out and drilled into his arm. Immediately, another flame mark appeared on his arm, successfully reaching 2 flame marks. This can be said to be quite easy, and he obtained 2 flame marks. If according to the normal process, at least 5 cultivators with 1 flame mark would have to be defeated to obtain a complete flame mark. But now it was different. It was equivalent to killing a cultivator of a higher level, and the flame mark obtained directly reached the standard, giving him a flame mark. It was the same for the second time. If there was no opponent of a higher level, then he would need to win 5 consecutive battles to obtain a 3rd flame mark. Chapter 793. Ding. Successfully killed Inspector Zhao. Reward, 120. 000 EXP 5. 000 CPS 2. 000 SBS. Reward, Evil Spirit Blood. Yi Tianyun easily killed Inspector Zhao. Fan Shueshuan was shocked. She can only take it slow. She didn't dare to be like Yi Tianyun, who killed an evil spirit race expert. Good, very good. Fan Shueshuan clenched her fists. Her eyes were full of joy. She can feel that Yi Tianyun killed Inspector Zhao is from evil spirit race. The thick smell of blood, the familiar smell, the smell of hatred that she can never forget. After Inspector Zhao died, a netherworld flame quickly enveloped his body, and before he could even reveal his true body, he had already been teleported out. The corpses that died here would soon be moved to be dealt with. As for where exactly they would be moved, it was not clear. Next, Tianyun held a spirit tool in his hand and pointed at the next inspector. He rummaged through the storage ring for a long time. He could barely find a spirit tool. He really doesn't have this kind of weapon now. This type of weapon has already been given to others or directly sold in the mall. Even if it only has a few hundred CPS, he will still sell it. He already has a divine tool. It's more than enough. Other levels of weapons are useless to him. Of course, there is another use, and that is to give it to others. He is now using a spirit tool to hide his strength so he can easily kill the inspector. At most, he is a few levels stronger. It's not enough to scare others, but he is not worried that no one will challenge him. If no one challenges him, doesn't it mean that he can't get the flame mark? Of course not. There are other ways to get it. This move caused an uproar. They have to admit that Yi Tianyun is really bold. He actually dared to challenge 2 inspectors in a row. This kind of courage is really impressive. Before they thought that Yi Tianyun is dead, But now it seems that he is not a newcomer, he really has some strength. Damn human, this time I will come. The other inspector roared angrily. He instantly used his strength, and 2 arms grew out of his back. He actually revealed his true self here, not worried that anyone would recognize him. After releasing his true body, each of his arms was holding a spirit sword. 4 spirit swords combined with his peak core transformation stage cultivation could really scare off a group of people. Many cultivators exclaimed when they saw it. Inspector Liu is going to explode. He even used the 4-armed unique skill. How enviable, that's right. Once he uses the 4 arms unique skill, he won't have any problem fighting those of a higher level. The patrol envoys are united. If they are provoked, they will take turns to challenge them. Now that Patrol Inspector Zhao has been killed, he'll immediately stand up for himself. The cultivators pointed at the side and did not think that these were evil spirit races. If one looked closely, they would find that they really only had 4 arms exposed. The rest of them were no different from ordinary cultivators. Therefore, it looked like a special martial art, and it did not feel too strange. Looks like he's still holding back, making others think that it's some kind of special martial art. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He had to admit that they really knew how to hide. It was very likely that this kind of martial art was used by many cultivators. You have some ability to kill Patrol Inspector Zhao. If that's the case, you shouldn't have angered us. The only result for you is death. As soon as he finished speaking, Inspector Liu rushed forward and waved his weapon at him. This time, it was very difficult for Tianyun to fight against the enemy. He could only dodge every attack and he was even injured. Every time he dodged, he was surrounded by danger. It was obvious that he was forced into a desperate situation. On the side, Fan Shueshuan clenched her fists, her face full of worry. I told you not to force yourself. Now, if you get seriously injured, you'll be finished. Please don't let anything happen. Please don't let anything happen. She wanted to help, but there was no way she could help. Let's see if this kid is still alive. Patrol Inspector Zhao was killed because of his carelessness. Let's see if he is still alive. Look at how hard he is trying to dodge. I'm afraid that he will be dead soon. That's right, he is too arrogant. If it was me, I would have stopped while I was ahead. This is simply courting death. One by one, the cultivators shook their head and felt that Tianyun was too arrogant. It's either surrender or die. The other patrol inspectors nodded, their eyes were full of joy. They will soon see Tianyun die under the sword of their companion. As the battle became longer and longer, Patrol Inspector Zhao couldn't kill Tianyun. Instead, he consumed more and more energy, and his movement became slower and slower. Tianyun's movement was also not fast. He was about to fall at any time, but he didn't fall. Coming. In the next moment, Tianyun swung his sword and pierced through the man's body. No, impossible. Patrol Inspector Zhao looked at the long sword in his chest. He wanted to escape, but he felt a force exploding in his chest. Soon after, he was blasted away with a large hole in his chest. He was completely dead. Ding! Successfully killed Patrol Inspector Liu. Reward, 150,000. 000 EXP. 000 Crazy Point 2. 800 SBS. Reward, Evil Spirit Blood. There wasn't much to drop, just a drop of evil spirit blood. It was as if the drop rate had decreased. In reality, appraisal eyes could tell that they would only drop the evil spirit's blood and nothing else. It could be said that they were stingy. Then the flame mark on Patrol Inspector Liu's body turned into a blue light and drilled into his arm. At this moment, there was a faint trace of flames on his arm. He couldn't form a flame trace in one go. Inspector Liu only had a little more than 2 flames in his hands. Therefore, the effect of filling up the flames would definitely be lesser. It would not be able to achieve the effect of 3 flames. Not enough. Yin shook his head. It's a pity, it's too slow, he wants to be faster. Patrol Inspector Liu? The other patrolmen were shocked. Their hearts were like raging waves, rolling and tumbling. Patrol Inspector Liu is at the peak of core transformation stage. How can he be killed so easily? Doesn't this mean that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is at least void spirit stage? They didn't expect a void spirit stage cultivator to sneak in. He is too young. They don't think that he is a void spirit stage cultivator. But Yi Tianyun looked like he was about to fall. He didn't rely on his strength to kill Patrol Inspector Liu. He relied on his extraordinary stamina to kill Patrol Inspector Liu. Who's coming? Yi Tianyun pointed his sword at them. His grip on the sword trembled. It seems like he's going to fall at any time. I'll do it. One of the patrol inspectors immediately jumped down. Seeing Yi Tianyun is about to fall, how can he not kill Yi Tianyun? Chapter 794. Yi Tianyun wanted to trick them into coming down so that he could kill them one by one. If he continued to be very strong, he would definitely scare them. At that time, no one would come down. Right now, he was trying his best to kill as many evil spirit race as possible to replenish his flames. He did not want to delay. It would be best if he could rush to the 3rd floor in one go. The 3rd floor and above was the real starting point. If he was stuck on the 2nd floor, it would be more troublesome. The 2nd floor had greater restrictions and less power. It was easy to get stuck on the 2nd floor. Then, the patrolman raised his sword and attacked without saying a word. Yi Tianyun looked like he could be killed at any time. He was on the verge of collapse, and it was obvious that he was out of stamina. Continuing to challenge in such a situation was obviously irrational. All of them could not help but scold him for being too arrogant. Logically speaking, he could just take a good rest and challenge the next time. Or he could directly go up to the 2nd floor to cultivate. What a good choice. Now that he was trying to be brave and continuously challenging, he was simply courting death. Big Brother Yi, what are you doing? Fan Shueshuan was extremely anxious. She wished that she could go up and slap him. He clearly looked like he was out of stamina, yet he still chose to continue challenging. How could she not feel angry and anxious? However, she could only watch from the outside. Die, foolish human. The patrolman quickly stabbed over. Just as he was about to stab, Yi Tianyun twisted to the side and barely dodged it. The sword even pierced through his clothes, and he looked like he was almost injured. Damn it! The patrolman fiercely attacked again, attacking several times in a row, but he was barely able to dodge them. When he angrily attacked Yi Tianyun's hand speed suddenly increased, and he killed his opponent. With a bang sound, the opponent's chest was pierced, and following an explosion, he was sent flying. He could not be more dead. Following that, the flames on the patrolman's hand quickly surged over and drilled into his arm, quickly becoming much denser. It seemed like this time was not bad. It should be closer to 3 flames, which was why it had such an effect. From the looks of it, he had at least more than half of them. If he could kill 2 more, he would definitely be able to obtain the 3rd flame imprint. What? Inspector Huang was killed. They were shocked. They were clearly on the verge of collapse, yet they forcefully endured it and were barely able to kill it. Who else? Yi Tianyun used his sword to support himself as he stared blankly at the sky. Damn it, let me do it. One of the patrolling envoys was about to lose his mind right now. They were patrolling envoys. To think that 3 of them would die just like that? And they were killed by humans at that. They had basically never died here, but now 3 of them had been killed consecutively. How could they not be angry? After jumping down, Yi Tianyun repeated the same old trick and continued to dodge. Every time he attacked, he looked weak. Either the attack missed, or he barely dodged. It seemed like it was quite difficult. However, after delaying for a moment, he launched another fierce attack. The seemingly weak attack just so happened to land on the other party's chest, and an explosion accompanied it. Another patrol envoy had been killed. The imprint in Yi Tianyun's hand deepened again. He was about to successfully form the 3rd flame. Who else? Yi Tianyun looked up as he waved his sword. He looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. This time, they were all dumbfounded. How could he still kill an inspector in such a state? His body looked injured, and it was obviously not an illusion. However, he still managed to kill his opponent in such a situation. Those who originally thought that Yi Tianyun was going to die were speechless. They could only say that he was too stubborn. Could this kid be doing this on purpose to lure the inspector down? This can't be? He looks like he's really injured. How can this be fake? I'm not sure. Maybe it really is an illusion. He is trying to trick them into coming down to compete. Many of the cultivators started to have doubts. If killing one was a coincidence, what about the second one? Then it wouldn't be that simple. The cultivators had their own guesses, but the inspector was completely enraged. He immediately jumped down from the sky, wanting to fight to the death with him. Damn it, I don't believe that I can't kill you. The inspector was completely angry. He burst out with his full strength. Even if he was facing Yi Tianyun, he still used his other two arms. He wanted to kill Yi Tianyun with his sword. When he was about to attack, Yi Tianyun's figure disappeared. A sword light passed through his body. He didn't even finish his words. His whole body froze in place and he couldn't say a word. The next moment his body was cut in half and fell to the side. A large amount of blood flowed around and dyed the ground red. Too long-winded. Yi Tianyun flicked his sword lightly. His action was like flicking away the blood on the sword, even though there was no blood on the sword. It was too fast. Everyone only saw the sword light, and everything was over. Ding! Successfully killed Inspector Hua. Reward, 150,000. 000 EXP. 000 Crazy Point 2. 800 SBS. Reward, Evil Spirit Blood. At this time, a flame quickly flew up and burned on his arm. At this time, the third flame was completely lit. This power. He was faking it before. The other inspector was shocked. From the burst of power just now, he immediately knew that Yi Tianyun was faking it. Fan Shueshuan was shocked. She thought that Yi Tianyun was injured, but she didn't expect that he was not injured at all. Big Brother Yi is faking it. He is too cunning. Even I was fooled. Fan Shueshuan was angry, but she was happy. Yi Tianyun is fine. She was afraid that something bad would happen to him. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the many inspectors, and the desire to devour even appeared in the depths of their eyes. The more talented a person was, the stronger the effect they could bring. If ordinary talent is like a steamed bun, then Yi Tianyun is equal to a piece of meat, an extremely tempting piece of meat. It's just that they can't swallow this meat. They can only look at each other and immediately transmit their voice to each other. A genius came in. It seems that we can't avenge them. They shook their heads. It's okay. When he reaches the third floor, someone will naturally deal with him. Another inspector said, yes, let him be arrogant for a while. When the time comes, he will know what despair is. They were all transmitting their voices to each other, but none of them said it out loud. Who else? Yi Tianyun glanced around coldly. Many cultivators bowed their heads and didn't dare to look at him. He doesn't need to pretend to be weak now. If he continues to pretend, even a fool will be able to see through him. So he simply burst out and killed these trash. Moreover, he has already collected 3 flame marks, so he can basically leave this place. Most of the cultivators here did not have high cultivation. The truly powerful ones were all above, not here. With his current situation, he needs to kill a lot of inspectors with 2 flame marks to collect 4 flame marks. The number is too low. He estimated that he needs more than 30 to 40 flame marks. Chapter 795. Facing Yi Tianyun's domineering aura, no one made a sound. Some of them even retreated a few steps, not daring to get close to him. Yi Tianyun looked at the other inspectors and said disdainfully, "Aren't you going to come down to avenge your companions? We are the inspectors of this place. We are not here to fight and kill." One of the evil spirit race's inspectors stood up, feeling helpless and angry. A bunch of cowards. If you can't beat them, just say it. Don't talk nonsense with me. How dare you say that you are an inspector and don't know how to fight and kill? What did your companions do before? Didn't they come down anyway? Yi Tianyun spat disdainfully. He was just that domineering. He looked like a guy who was all brawn and no brains. He was more like a young man who was too arrogant and full of pride. his goal would be achieved by making these fellows dislike him. He wanted to make all the evil spirit race his enemy. As for the other cultivators, he had no interest in them. Now that he had used other bloodline powers to conceal his King of the Heavens bloodline power, he believed that the other party wouldn't be able to see through it. They would only think that he had a decent dragon god bloodline power. Every word a coward and trash, constantly teasing their nerves, trying to provoke them. They were indeed provoked. The ancient underworld divine pagoda was their territory now. Even if they couldn't set the rules, they had absolute power here. But now, someone was trampling on their dignity. In their eyes, the outsiders were their food. How could they not be angry when they were insulted by food? Immediately, an inspector wanted to jump down and fight with him, but he was quickly held back by the other inspectors. This kid is a madman. He has such a high cultivation at such a young age. He is really arrogant. In my opinion, his cultivation should be at level 2 or 3 of the Void Spirit stage. We can't deal with him with our current strength. You must calm down. You will die if you go down, one of the inspectors said to them. Many of them calmed down. They were extremely angry, but they had to say that they would die if they went down. Let's go. After saying that, the patrol envoy could only choose to leave this place. There was nothing he could do about losing face. Who asked him to be weaker than Yi Tianyun? After they left, Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. It seemed like goading them was useless. However, if he were to maintain his original state, the other party would also quickly realize that something was wrong. One was a coincidence, but what about the second? What if the third one was killed? Even the stupidest person would know that there was a problem. They were blinded by anger, but that didn't mean that no one was calm. This was the best proof that he would not come down to challenge Yi Tianyun. When many people saw this, they immediately booed. They felt that the patrol envoy really did not have the guts to continue the challenge. But if it was them, they wouldn't dare to challenge him. Yi Tianyun was too powerful. He could easily kill a peak core transformation stage cultivator, which meant that the gap between them was not small. After Yi Tianyun walked up, Fan Shuechuan immediately rushed up to him and said in surprise, "Big brother Yi, you are so amazing. I didn't expect that you were pretending before. I thought you were really injured." Now, Yi Tianyun's body had already recovered. He pretended to be attacked before, so he only had some superficial wounds. As long as he used his power, he could easily recover. "If I can't even deceive you, who can I deceive?" Yi Tianyun laughed. You are laughing at me again." Fan Shuechuan pouted and said, "If you didn't save me, I wouldn't be so easily fooled. All right, it's almost time for me to go up. It's not a good thing to continue to delay here." Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice, "You can stay here, it's much safer than going up." "I am going up now. I said that I will take it back and I will take it back." Why are you helping me?" Fan Shuechuan asked doubtfully. "You will know this soon, and I am not only helping you, but also myself." After speaking, he rubbed Fan Shuechuan's small head, turned around and walked towards the stairs in the city center, leaving her confused. "Help myself?" Fan Shuechuan clenched her fist, her eyes shining. "I will catch up soon. Since I am here, I will not stay here peacefully." Immediately, she resolutely walked to the side of the arena, ready to fight in the arena. Yi Tianyun did not take Fan Shuechuan step by step, not because he was heartless, but because it was undoubtedly easier to move alone. There are so many rules here, if anything happens he will not be able to help. Staying on the first floor is a bit safer. Soon he arrived in front of the spiral staircase. The huge staircase is hundreds of feet wide, and just like that, he went up. Right now, there were quite a few cultivators climbing up. They had all reached 2 flame imprints, so they could directly climb up. But when going up, it still looks so difficult. Climbing up is also a kind of training. Yi Tianyun did not pay attention to them, lifted his foot and walked up. Just as he stepped on the staircase, the flame imprint on his arm flashed. Only then did he pass through the restriction, successfully stepping on the staircase. If he did not meet the standard, he would probably be sent flying out. Just as he entered, he felt a force of gravity on his body, making it more difficult for him to walk. However, this little bit of pressure was of no use to him. He immediately walked up quickly. In an instant he surpassed the others. Everyone looked at him dumbfounded. Others had to work to death to climb up. Why is Lee Tianyun so easy? Lee Tianyun could not be bothered with their gazes, quickly climbing up to the second floor. On the way, he also saw the patrollers, who immediately revealed angry expressions when they saw Lee Tianyun, wanted to shout something, but Lee Tianyun had already disappeared without a trace. They could not even catch up, they could only angrily jump behind him. It has to be said that climbing up is really far. Even with his astonishing sprinting speed, it took him a few incense sticks of time to rush to the second floor. He had just reached the second floor. The spiritual power here is much better than the first floor. The environment is no different from the bottom, surrounded by green mountains and clear waters, another small world. Are you new? Do you want to join our sect? No, it's to join our sect. People immediately rushed over from the side of the staircase. Seeing unfamiliar faces, they immediately tried to rope him in. Lee Tianyun directly ignored them, directly rushing to the third floor, without any intention of stopping. He directly ignored the second floor, not even looking at it, not even bothering to stay a second longer in this city. What's going on? Isn't he new? How did he directly jump to the third floor? What the hell? Chapter 796. The rules of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda were different in the past. The rules of the second level had not changed much. The second level had the most people. Their cultivations were all around the core transformation stage. The first thing they needed to do was to join a camp. There were a lot of miscellaneous things. The key was that they could not force challenges. Everyone had to observe each other. Only after understanding each other thoroughly could they challenge each other. It was definitely not a problem to take it slow. However, he did not like this. It was too much of a waste of time. After knowing this, Lee Tianyun decided to rush to the third level. After reaching the third level, he could force challenges. The other party could not refuse. The first two levels did not have such mandatory challenges. The main point was to protect the weak disciples. That was why there were such rules. If someone knew that you were strong, no one would accept the challenge. This was originally a very good rule. It was a good rule to train new disciples. However, it was different now. It was simply a rubbish rule. If someone with a strong cultivation entered and no one accepted the challenge, how could he continue? How could he collect the flame brand? Therefore, he needed to join a camp. If he wanted to go up, he could send someone from the camp to give the flame brand. He just needed to lose on purpose. After all, losing the flame brand would not kill him. If he lost in the second level, he would recover a flame brand and be kicked back to the first level. The third level was the same. He would lose a flame brand and be demoted to the second level. However, there was one exception. If he killed the opponent directly, all the flame brands of the opponent would belong to him. He could immediately obtain more flame brands. Killing was the best way to earn the most flame imprints. This was why he was able to successfully obtain the third flame imprint after killing the 3 patrolmen. If he defeated or surrendered normally, he would need to defeat 10 opponents with 2 flame brands to successfully obtain a flame brand. He was not a reckless person. Therefore, when he was preparing to fight, he had a general understanding of the situation. If he wanted to save time, the best way was to obtain 3 flame brands in one go. This way, he could directly go up to the third level and save a lot of time. After reaching the third level, he could force challenges. This force challenge could not be done at any time. There were a few conditions that had to be met. First, the first condition was that he was not injured. Second, he could not accept any challenge that week. Third, he had no chance to refuse. Everyone had a chance to refuse. If they ran out of chances, they could only bite the bullet and accept it. However, after the battle, they would have a week to recover. During this time, they could reject any challenges. If they kept challenging him, it would be hard for him to stay alive. There were many rules and all aspects were very fair. Thus, it was very easy to ascend from the third floor. It was not like the second floor, where one would be continuously rejected and unable to obtain the third flame brand. It could be said that it was very awkward. Soon he arrived at the third layer. As soon as he arrived, he was greeted by an even denser spiritual energy and life force. Compared to the bottom, it was several times denser. The higher he went, the denser the spiritual power and life force became. This way, both his cultivation speed and recovery speed would increase. No wonder he was only given a week of rest. Unless it was a broken arm or leg, it would not be a problem for him to recover in a week. A new face? When the cultivators on the side of the stairs saw Yi Tianyun coming up, they all looked at him up and down. Soon after, when he realized that he did not have any camp emblems on him, he was a little confused. Which faction are you from? Obviously, they were here to pick someone up. Only by grouping up with other factions could they continue to move up. They would send whoever they liked up first, so that they could occupy the territory above. This method was very normal. After all, the higher one went, the more power they would obtain, and the more benefits they could obtain. The ancient Ming Divine Pagoda had very complete rules. It was completely an excellent place to train disciples. The flame brand on one's arm could be exchanged for some treasures and martial arts. Different levels of flame brands could be exchanged for different things. Similarly, the cultivation places that could be exchanged for were also different. The more flame brands one used, the more benefits they would obtain. However, he was not interested at all. Now, he just wanted to kill his way up. Apart from that, he did not have any other thoughts. I don't come from any faction. Now, I want to challenge the floor master of this place. Yi Tianyun looked calm. From the third floor onward, there would be a floor master here. As long as he defeated him, he would be able to become the floor master. At that time, he would be able to obtain more power, and more importantly, he would be able to obtain flame brands faster. Challenge the floor master? You want to challenge the floor master? Their expressions were strange. This newcomer had just come up, and he wanted to challenge the floor master. This was no longer overestimating his own capabilities, but rather, he was out of his mind. Yi Tianyun could not be bothered with them. Instead, he swept his gaze across, and his appraisal eye quickly enveloped this area. The area near the stairs was actually the city area of the third floor, and the structure was basically the same. As long as there were enough flame brands, one could keep climbing up and they would all be stacked up. Soon he locked onto a palace in the city. There was a cultivator sitting inside, devouring other cultivators. If this was not the evil spirit race, who else could it be? Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold, and he quickly rushed toward the palace. Before the cultivators beside him could react, Yi Tianyun had already disappeared from their sight, leaving them looking at each other in dismay. Soon he arrived in front of the palace. Just as he approached, a cultivator immediately intercepted him and said angrily, "Who are you?" No one knew who the intruder was, but Yi Tianyun had already bypassed them and easily entered the palace. The rules of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda forbade fighting outside the competition grounds, and those who violated the rules would be punished. However, he did not attack them and directly bypassed them. As soon as he entered, he saw that there was a bloody scene in front of him. On the throne in front of him, there was a large amount of blood flowing down the stairs, dyeing a large area red. There were many corpses lying on the side, and there were also many skeletons thrown at the side. It was a horrifying sight. The key was that the floor master was eating a female cultivator bit by bit. That cultivator was still alive, and her eyes were filled with pain, but she could not make a sound. She could only let out whimpering sounds. Her tongue had been cut off, so she definitely could not even make a sound. Seeing this scene, Yi Tianyun was not surprised. Not to mention that the floor master of the third floor was from the evil spirit race. All the floor masters of the entire ancient Ming Divine Pagoda were from the evil spirit race, and they firmly controlled all the lifelines. It could be said that whoever challenged the floor master would definitely die. Chapter 797. When someone suddenly rushed in and saw through Qin Sheng's true appearance, he was immediately enraged. He threw the cultivator in his hand to the side, and with a puss sound, she fell heavily to the ground. However, just as she was about to fall to the ground, a wave of energy enveloped the cultivator, lifted her up, and then slowly lowered her. She did not suffer a strong impact. If she had been hit, she would have died without a doubt. But now that she had not fallen to her death, she was almost there. Most of her body had been eaten, and she was bleeding non-stop. She looked like she was on the verge of death. Her eyes were gray and shrouded in a layer of despair. When she saw Yi Tianyun rushing in to save her, there was an additional hint of hope in her despairing gaze. A mere human actually dares to barge in. Who gave you the guts? Qin Sheng was furious. He did not expect his true appearance to be seen. How could he not be angry? Following that, the guards outside quickly ran in and intercepted Yi Tianyun. They surrounded him tightly, not wanting him to leave this place. Aren't the two of you humans? I didn't expect this so-called floor master to be an evil spirit race. Do you know what kind of race the evil spirit race is? Other than their own race, they will devour everyone else. If you are not careful, one day you will be eaten. Yi Tianyun looked at the two guards with an ice-cold gaze. These two guards were not from the evil spirit race, but from the human race. As the guards here, they could obtain rewards. There were many ways to obtain the flame imprint here, and being a guard here was one of them. The two guards did not even look back. Instead, they glared at him and said, "Do we need you to teach us what to do?" With that, the two guards picked up their weapons and attacked Yi Tianyun fiercely. As the guards here, they had the authority to expel intruders. A group of people who have been bewitched, how pitiful! Tianyun turned his fist into a palm and gently waved it in front of him. A sharp light flashed and pierced through their necks, causing them to freeze on the spot. Puchi. Then, their heads fell from their necks, and their corpses fell to the ground with a thud. Blood flowed endlessly, dyeing the ground red. The flame marks on their hands quickly drilled over and deepened the flame mark on Yi Tianyun's arm. Yi Tianyun was not punished. The guards here could attack intruders, but it was equivalent to entering the arena mode. If the other party was killed, Yi Tianyun would not be punished. Interesting. I don't know how you found out about our true identities, but you're dead meat today. The story master Qin Sheng walked down the stairs step by step, and a huge axe immediately appeared in his hand. With a whoosh sound, the terrifying fire of the netherworld rose up and rushed to the top of the palace. The 4 flame imprints on his arm proved that he was not as simple as a rank 3, but a rank 4. In addition to the power of a story master, his power erupted crazily. It's just that no matter how much strength he used, he could only reach the 6th level of Void Spirit stage. To him, it's just trash. In the first floors, it was normal to have a cultivation at this level, but from the 4th floor and above, there were many experts. He wanted to rush up and kill those powerful evil spirit race in one go, but with the rules here, he could only climb up step by step. Boom! In the next moment, the story master Qin Sheng flew up, raised the huge axe, and released the power of the flame imprints on his arm, doubling his strength again. Because of his identity as a story master, he could use the power of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda to strengthen himself. If the ancient Ming Divine King was here, he would have vomited blood. Originally, this was used to deal with the evil spirit race, but now it was used by the evil spirit race. It was really sad. Die, trash human. You'll be our food for the rest of your lives. Qin Sheng slashed down. The extremely cold fire of the netherworld turned into a demon and swallowed him up. Boom! Yi Tianyun did not even dodge. He just looked at the attack, and in an instant he was enveloped by the flame and swallowed. Then, the holy weapon came down. Even if he was frozen into an ice sculpture, he still wanted to break it. Bang! A terrifying power swept out from the fire of the netherworld. The fire of the netherworld that originally covered this area was instantly dispersed, and then a terrifying scene appeared. Yi Tianyun held the blade of the huge axe with one hand. The sharp blade had no effect on him at all, and his right hand that was holding the huge axe was not injured at all. This power... Qin Sheng was shocked. He did not expect that the attack he had used all his strength to have no effect on Yi Tianyun at all. He was even holding the axe in his hand and could not cut it at all. He had used all his strength, but he could not do anything at all. Level Master Qin, something bad has happened. A human is rushing up from below, and he can easily crush our patrolling envoy. Through the estimation, he may reach the void spirit stage or above. If he continues to cultivate, his cultivation will be stronger, and the taste will. An evil spirit race guard walked out of the palace and reported the news he had received as he walked. When he walked out, he was shocked to see the strange situation in front of him. That's him. The guard was holding an image in his hand. From the image that was transmitted from below, he could clearly see that it was Yi Tianyun's appearance. But it was all too late. Yi Tianyun had already fought with Qin Sheng. Unless a winner was decided, the competition would not end. You said that we will be your food for the rest of our lives? Tianyun sneered and said, "Trash like you are worthy of that? No matter how weak we are not willing to become your food even if we perish together with you." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly grabbed the huge axe and spun in the air, holding the axe handle tightly. He aimed the axe at Qin Sheng and chopped down. The sharp cold light was like the twinkling stars in the sky, cutting through the night sky. "Open for me!" 2 arms immediately grew out of Qin Sheng's back. 4 arms followed and tried to grab the axe, trying to block the axe. But his speed was too slow, and his strength was even more fragile. The heavy axe chopped from head to toe, cutting Qin Sheng in half. It was not difficult at all, as if it was cutting a piece of tofu. The 4 arms that blocked the huge axe were cut to the side. The cut was smooth, and it was very terrifying. Ding successfully killed Story Master Qin Sheng, obtained experience. What he obtained was not important. What was important was that the flame mark flew out and entered his arm. On the original 3 flame marks, there was one more, successfully becoming 4 flame marks. The key was that there was a special dark blue circle on this flame mark, which meant that he was the 3rd Story Master. Chapter 798. Yi Tianyun was not happy at all after killing Qin Sheng. This was because this was just the beginning. Becoming a floor master was only the first step to being able to compete with the evil spirit race. After becoming a floor master, he would expand the scope of the force challenge and obtain more power and power. The most important thing was that only a floor master could challenge a higher floor master. To be precise, a challenge between a floor master and a floor master could not be rejected and had to be accepted. This was the main reason why he chose to become a floor master. It was to be able to forcefully challenge. If it was someone else challenging, the floor master could easily reject it, but if it was a floor master challenging, he could not reject it. Simply put, for example, a floor master could reject a challenge at will. Although there was a limit to the number of times, he could skip the loopholes in the rules. For example, he could immediately find a weak person to challenge him. After agreeing to the challenge, he would immediately have a week to rest. At that time, if the cycle continued, the cultivators who wanted to challenge the floor master could only retreat helplessly. However, challenging a floor master was different. He had to accept the challenge. If the battle had just ended, it would definitely be the challenger's turn in a week. Yi Tianyun had not investigated carefully, but he believed that the position of the floor master was definitely in the hands of the evil spirit race. There were no exceptions. This was the logic behind the guard's reminder just now. He could not let this position fall, or else it would be very easy for trouble to occur. However, it was all too late. Qin Sheng accepted the challenge in anger and was easily split into 2, replacing him as the floor master. "What did you say?" Yi Tianyun turned to look at the guard, his gaze cold. "Come, accept the challenge, trash." In an instant, the entire area was enveloped by a barrier, trapping the guard within. He could either escape or die here. There was no other choice. Surrender was useless. Only by leaving this place could he surrender. The guard's heart turned cold. He turned around and fled, wanting to escape from this battlefield. However, everything was too slow. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and was already in front of him, swinging the giant axe in his hand. No! The guard screamed and subconsciously reached out to block the attack of the giant axe. Even the two arms that grew out from his back were blocked. However, this resistance was futile. The violent giant axe cut the guard in half, and blood splattered everywhere. Following that, the flame brand on the guard's body drilled into his arm and formed a faint mark on the fifth flame brand. This guard only had 3 flame imprints, so he could only obtain a bit of it. Even if he killed it, it would still be the same. This was just like leveling up. Leveling up required 10,000 EXP. When he was at a lower level, he would level up immediately by killing a higher level monster. When he was at a higher level, he would only receive a small portion of the EXP from killing a higher level monster. Only by killing those with more flame brand points could one quickly obtain the flame brand. This is the privilege of a story master. Very good. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. This was similar to punishment. The floor master had the right to judge. If he found someone displeasing to the eye or if someone violated the rules, he could challenge them to a trial. During the trial, the other party also had the right to kill, just like how Yi Tianyun killed those guards. They were guards here and they also had the right to judge. It was just that the number of times they had the right to judge was different at different levels. Right now, he had the right to judge 3 times. This meant that he could judge anyone 3 times. However, it had to be less than the number of flame imprints he had. The most heaven-defying thing was that regardless of whether the other party had just finished fighting or was seriously injured, he had to forcefully accept the challenge. Unless the other party hid in the cultivation room and didn't come out, he would immediately accept the challenge once he came out. After all, this was a trial, not a competition. There was no need to wait for the other party to catch their breath before slowly challenging them. 3 trials a month and the right to kill at what could be said to be heaven-defying. The cultivator lying there was the best proof. Forcefully judge the other party, then capture and eat him. The ancient Ming divine pagoda was very inflexible. As long as the rules were followed, it didn't matter. During the trial, it didn't matter how one ate the other party. There were exactly 3 people below. One of them didn't die, and that was the cultivator that Yi Tianyun had saved previously. Yi Tianyun hurried over, equipped the longevity necklace and ring, and quickly healed the cultivator. However, the cultivator's injuries were too serious. The evil spirit race not only devoured the body, but also the soul. Especially since he had lost a lot of blood, he was basically on the verge of death. The longevity necklace could increase the recovery speed, but it didn't mean that it could bring the dead back to life. It was too difficult for a dying person. Unless he gathered the set, there was really no way to do it. Thank you for killing him. The female cultivator smiled faintly. Even though she was unwilling to die, at least she could see her enemy die before she died. After saying that, she was completely dead. She should have died earlier, but she was hanging on with her last breath. After seeing Yi Tianyun kill Qin Sheng, she heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and then he shook his head and stood up. Very quickly, the corpses were enveloped by flames, and they disappeared on the spot. No one knew where they had been teleported to. Continue. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and he turned around and walked out. As soon as he walked out, many people immediately rushed up to him. Just now, there was the sound of an intense battle coming from the palace. Many cultivators wanted to go in and see who was so bold to challenge the story master. The power of the story master was too strong. Coupled with the enhancement of the ancient Ming divine pagoda, he had to be at least 1 or 2 levels stronger than Qin Sheng to be able to defeat him. Unexpectedly, as soon as they rushed over, they saw someone coming out from inside. Story master? When they saw the mark on Yi Tianyun's arm, they immediately recognized that Yi Tianyun had become a story master. They were extremely shocked. Everything had happened too quickly. Before they could react, he had already become a story master. They didn't even know what was going on. How long had it been? It had only been a few minutes, and everything was over? Yi Tianyun glanced at them coldly, immediately scaring them away. Then, without saying anything, he walked up the stairs. There were no people from the evil spirit race present, so he didn't care about their reactions. Right now, he wanted to challenge a story master of a higher level. Stop! How dare you kill Story Master Qinsheng? Do you know what you have done? At this time, a cultivator rushed over from the side. The necklace on Yi Tianyun's chest immediately flashed with red light, which meant that this person was from the evil spirit race. Judgment! Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. As soon as he gave the order, a layer of shield immediately enveloped him and the cultivator who rushed over. Before the other party could react, an axe came over and split him into two on the spot. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.